We are recording. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Seeing a presence of a quorum, I am calling the April 6th public forum on the Community Preservation Act appropriations to order at 6:30 p.m. Please be advised that this meeting is being held in person and that the remote access option for members of the public is provided as a courtesy only. In the event of technology issues with the remote connection, the meeting will continue in person as scheduled, as long as there is a quorum of the council present in the town room or through technological means. Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 has been extended through June 30th, 2027. The ability of the public body to meet without a quorum of the council physically present in this meeting location, although we do have a quorum of the council present in the town room tonight. This meeting is being recorded and it is accessible in real time via Zoom, by phone, and as a live broadcast on Amherst Media Channel 9 and on the YouTube live stream. I will call upon each counselor by the name they have indicated that they would like to be addressed. Please indicate that we can hear you and you can hear us. Counselor Brevik? Here. Counselor Cano Martin?
Here.
Andy Churchill?
Yes.
Anna Devlin Gauthier? Not yet here. Lynn Geismer?
Present.
Mandy Jo Haneke? Counselor Lord?
Present.
Sam McLeod? Pam Rooney?
Here.
Counselor Ryan?
Present.
Kathy Schoen?
Here.
Jennifer Taub?
Here.
And Counselor Walker is present. If counselors have any technical issues, please let the clerk of the council know or call a point of personal privilege. I would like to take a moment to pass this to Kathy so that you can call the Finance Committee meeting to order.
I have to quickly look at participants to see if we have Joseph Jane is here in the room already. I don't see any other. So with the council members all here, Joseph Jane.
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
Then I call the Finance Committee to order.
Thank you, Kathy. So in this public forum, we will start with Paul, who will speak briefly regarding the appropriations, and Sean may also have something to add. I just did also want to add that we will move to the public comment afterwards, and we will attempt to organize this in two sections. So first, all projects other than the Jones Library, and then we will move along to comments regarding the Jones Library. So if you are present in the town room and would like to sign up for public comment, please be sure to do so on the correct sheet. And I will make this announcement again afterwards, but for now I will pass it to Paul.
Thank you. So this is the public forum on request by the CPA committee to the council for funding the various items that they have in their report to you. They did a complete presentation at your last meeting, and so we're not going to redo that presentation. It also includes a borrowing order to authorize debt for the construction of the War Memorial Bathhouse, which would be under the open space and recreation part.
Okay, and I don't see if Sean has anything that he would like to add. No, I don't see him here. Okay, no problem. Okay, so we will move into the public forum comment period. Anyone wishing to comment or ask a question specific?
Alicia Anna's here.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say hi and that I was here before we got into public comment and that I can hear you.
Great, thank
Thanks.
you, Anna. Anna has joined us at 6:34 p.m.
I was here at 6:32.
6:32,
okay.
Thank you, Anna. Anyone wishing to comment or ask a question specific to the CPA appropriations that are not related to the Jones project, please make sure you are signed up. Anyone who is attending remotely and would like to make a comment regarding the CPA appropriations not related to the Jones project, please raise your hand in the Zoom application. Residents are welcome to comment or ask a question specific to the recommended appropriations related to this public forum. This is not a general public comment period. This period will take place during the regular town council meeting that will begin directly after this public forum adjourns. Public forum comments or questions are not reflective of the opinions of the town council. Because this is a public forum, if questions are asked, there is a potential for getting them answered. Right now, we have 2 hands raised on Zoom. Can I ask Athena how many signups we have in the town room?
0 for non-Jones CPA.
Okay, great. So we will allow 3 minutes for each comment, and we will start on Zoom. Darcy Jameson, if you would like to unmute, state your name and make your comment, please.
Hi, I think that I'm supposed to be in general public comment, so I will hold until then.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank
Then we will move to Bonnie. Please unmute, state your name, and make your public comment.
Hi, this is Bonnie Isman, and I'm talking today on behalf of the Amherst Historical Society, just to convey our appreciation for the CPA funding recommendation to help preserve the Simeon Strong House. This is a house that's graced Amherst for over 250 years and was originally a center for Tories and Loyalists in the Revolution. However, ironically, it later became the home of the Daughters of the American Revolution, celebrating the revolution. So this is just one of the many stories that we tell with the Historical Society, and we greatly appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. We have Joy Bowman also on Zoom. If you can please unmute yourself, state your name, and make your comment.
Yes, thank you so much. I am Joy Bowman, and I am representing the Goodwin Memorial AME Zion Church. And like the previous speaker, I wanted to say thank you for your support of the work that we hope to get done at Goodwin. We've had a little bit of confusion over the course of the year. We lost our pastor in November, and so we've been trying to catch up to where she was. We didn't have the information at the time, and so we just appreciate your patience waiting for us to make make our proposal clearer. And we have an architect coming in and looking forward to being in touch with the committee. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy. Okay, I do not see any other hands on Zoom to make a public comment regarding to CPA appropriations other than the Jones Library project. So I will move along and ask that anyone wishing to comment or ask a question specific to the CPA appropriation that is the Jones Library project, please make sure you are signed up with the clerk in the town room. And if you are commenting via Zoom, please raise your hand now. Athena, how many signups do we have in the room? 2. And I see only 1 on Zoom right now, so we will continue with the 3 minutes per comment. Can we start in the town room, Athena?
Sure, Kent Farber.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me now? I'm Kent Ferber, a member of Resident District 5, co-chair of the Jones Library Capital Campaign Committee, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Jones Library recommended grant tonight. This is a large and complicated project and a large and complicated issue, a subject about a lot of issues are raised about. So I'm wondering if I might have an additional 2 minutes to make the remarks that I have. I have them prepared. I'm not going to ramble on, but if I could have a couple more minutes to cover them, that would be appreciated.
Okay, thank you. I am willing to allow you an additional 2 minutes for public comment unless there are any objections from other counselors present. If so, please raise your hand. Okay, you can proceed with 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. We hope the town council will approach this grant by respecting both the letter and the spirit of the law through which it's brought to you. This is different from most of the spending decisions you have to make because the Community Preservation Act has very detailed terms about the way in which funds are levied, their use is restricted, and the procedure by which they're allocated. First, this is not a referendum about the larger library project. The quote CPA funded project, close quote, under consideration is only for the preservation of some historically important and beautiful wood. Most of the considerations raised about the larger project are not relevant. For example, disapproving this project will not free up funds for roads, schools, or any other town needs. CPA funds can be used only for historic preservation, affordable housing, and recreation and open space. This grant will not raise or lower anyone's taxes. The same surcharge will be collected whether this grant is approved or not. That's why the prior CPA grant was not considered, quote, a penny more, close quote, when the town limited its general revenue commitment to the project. And a grant today would not be so considered either. Nobody's taxes will be raised by either of these grants. And the competitive process for awarding CPA funds prescribed by the law in great detail clearly implies the standard to be used in judging grant applications. A carefully composed committee is charged with comparing which applications among only those presented to it each year best carry out the purposes of the CPA Act, and then constructing a slate of recommendations that carefully reflect that comparison. Pulling one element out of the committee's carefully constructed slate upsets that calculation and should not be done without an overwhelming reason to do so. This is very difficult and time-consuming work the committee is engaged in, involving dozens of hours of discussion, negotiations, and reading hundreds of pages of documentation. Rejecting this slate disrespects the hard work the committee put into creating it and provides little incentive for it to commit to such work in the future. So again, this decision is a very narrow one, namely whether the committee erred in deciding that preserving some very specific, beautiful, and historic woodwork advances the goals of the Community Preservation Act, as well as the other projects presented this year. It would be difficult to imagine a historic project that does that more effectively. The 1928 Philippine mahogany woodwork being preserved has been repeatedly identified by experts for its historic value. The historic preservation community of Amherst and other residents have repeatedly demanded this work, and the Mass Historical Commission requires it. If the town had elected not to pursue the large library project and chosen only to repair the present building, there's no question that preserving this woodwork would have been included and that CPA funds would have been sought and readily granted for it. With hundreds of thousands of patrons going by this woodwork every year, there'll be few other projects that will more visibly demonstrate the value of historic preservation. The allegations that this grant is ineligible under the law are all unfounded. The town's attorneys have made it clear that this grant would not, quote, supplant, close quote, the detailed terms of the bond authorization for the larger project. Bob Parent and Fontaine have confirmed that $330,000 of the work funded by the recommended grant is not, quote, underway and won't be needed until after July 1. And the exact wording of the Community Preservation Act rules require that only the, quote, CPA funded project, close quote, must comply with the Secretary of the Interior standards. Funds from this grant will not be used for anything but woodwork preservation. Both the Planning Department and the opinion of the historic preservation expert you have now received confirm that this is the customary way CPA projects that are part of a larger construction project are reviewed. So again, we hope the council will set aside whatever it thinks about the larger library project and carry out the purposes of the Community Preservation Act by supporting this much more limited but very important preservation of some of the town's most significant historic assets. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Kent. And we can move to Jeff Lee on Zoom. Please unmute, state your name, and make your public comment.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Lee. I'd just like to point out that
Excuse me, Jeff. I'm not sure if you're aware, but your voice is just coming through distorted. I'm not sure if there's a setting to address that on your end, but it's hard to understand exactly what you're saying.
Is that any better?
That's much better. Thank you.
I don't know why I have that problem, but thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to point out in your packet, there is a letter from the law firm of Anderson Krieger. They represent several towns across Massachusetts, and it articulates their opinion that the Jones Library CPA request is not compliant with the law for two reasons. It violates the non-supplanting rule of the Community Preservation Act, and it does not qualify, it does not meet the Secretary of the Interior standards for his treatment of historic properties that you may recall has been communicated in a letter from the Mass Historic Commission. So I would advise you to take a good look at that letter. It was written by attorney Mina Macarius, who represents the town of Lexington. Would also like to point out that the letter from Virginia Adams that claims that the violation of Secretary standards does not matter because the MOA for the Section 106 review was signed and agreed to by the Mass Historic Commission. Well, there's no rules that say that a Section 106 review has to meet the Secretary's standards, but there are rules that say that CPA requests need to meet the Secretary's standards. Same as for Mass Historic Rehabilitation tax credits. And that's why Amherst was denied for those. So just wanted to point that out. And I also wonder why, if this money is being paid out of taxpayer funds, why is it not credited to the taxpayers rather than to the library share of the project? So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jeff. And Athena, can we please move back to the town room?
Vince O'Connor.
Vince, great. Thank you. Vince, please use the mic, state your name, and make your comment.
Yes. My name is Vincent O'Connor. I live at 175 Summer Street, apartment 12 in North Amherst. I was a member of the CPA committee and the petitioner for all three, in both the original CPA appropriation and the two increases through the town meeting. I served as vice chair of the CPA committee for the last 4 years of my 2 3-year terms, from which lasted from 2004 to 2010. This is actually this request in light of the real destruction of the historic character of that building. Is such a flagrant abuse of the historic preservation feature. And having served on the committee for 6 years and been around long before and since, there are plenty of served historic preservation needs in this town, and that have not been addressed because of the persistent willingness of this council to give money to a project which monies they claim are fundraising, not town appropriations. That's absurd. We all know it's absurd. This appropriation should be rejected. And I think that the council and the CPA committee ought to take a much broader look at historic preservation than simply continuously giving money to this project and other projects related to town properties. We have missed the boat in many ways of doing preservation work. Instead, just focusing on town properties in a way that I think is really an abuse of the CPA's purpose and of the historic preservation mandate. It isn't just to preserve historic features of town buildings and town properties. This project should be more broadly applied to historic properties throughout the town and all aspects of them, rather than being focused as it has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. And on Zoom, we have Maria Kopicki. If you can please unmute, state your name and make your comment.
Thank you. Maria Kopicki, South Amherst. I hope that you guys have read the emails that I've been sending you. There was a pretty complete one. I won't touch on everything there because that's way more than 3 minutes time, and I won't do that. I will note that previous memos that I had sent to the CPAC committee before they were to deliberate and vote, one of mine did not get sent to the committee as I had asked. But I hope that those memos also get sent to the town council before you take your vote. This is even simpler than Kent Farber is saying. This is not about, will this project happen? It's not about, will the woodwork happen? The woodwork's going to happen. The woodwork's been part of the budget. It's in the budget. It's in the construction documents. We all know that. That's why it's inappropriate for the library fundraisers to ask for this money. This is about promises that you made and were made on your behalf, and that the trustees made every time this came up for a vote. Oh, no, not a penny more. And you were given documents when you reconsidered this project last spring, about a year ago, and you received a memo that said, no. The rest of the money that the fundraiser are gonna get is gonna be private, federal, or state. Last time I checked, Amherst taxpayer money that is the primary and overwhelming source of money that goes out in CPA is none of those. I hope you will give no credence to this argument I just heard tonight about not separating it out. You guys know as well as I do that there is ample precedent for separating items out for CPA and for other things. And the fact is, this money does have an impact on other things. It has an impact on other projects that didn't get funded at all this year and may die. I'm talking about pickleball. It has an impact about how that $3 million is going to be used and whether there's going to be additional borrowing, which is going to incur more interest. There are impacts. And what I'm just asking you guys to do is to keep your word. This project's going to happen, the woodwork's going to happen, but there are sketchy reasons at best that they've given that this does not violate all kinds of rules. So just say no, and it will happen anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Athena, do we have anyone else left in the town room?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that there aren't any additional public commenters at this time, I will move. Oh, sorry, Kathy, can you please adjourn the Finance Committee meeting?
Yes, the Finance Committee is adjourned. unless you need to take a vote of all the finance committee members.
Well, I am just noticing that we have another hand up on Zoom. Is it too late to take that hand?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So Hetty Startup, I do see that you are raising your hand. Can you please unmute, state your name, and make your comment?
Hello, everyone. My name's Hetty Startup. I live in North Amherst. I'm currently on the Amherst Historical Commission, and I just want to comment on a item that was sent to add to the packet for your agenda at Town Council tonight. I have a slightly different memory of how things unfolded at the meeting where we discussed the Jones Library project and many other projects. I do remember questioning why they were applying, because it was my understanding that things that were funded had already been taken care of in the final bid for the project. We did discuss some things that they were requesting funding for. We also looked at all of the other projects that were being proposed under the historic preservation category. And because our chairperson is always having to recuse themselves because they work for the Mass Historical Commission, I think it was my understanding that there was going to be some kind of memo that would communicate with the CPA committee about how we discussed these projects that came before us. So I'm just kind of a little bit concerned that the kind of processes of decision making aren't quite on the level at the moment. And I'm not commenting necessarily on the finance aspects of this consideration, but I am, as far as I was concerned, we had rolled in all the things that were going to happen with the library project in terms of the exterior wood trim and the interior woodwork, and we discussed those extensively as a commission. So I'm just a little confused by them coming forward again. And I know there are a lot of issues around supplanting, and I don't want to comment on that. I just want to make it plain that this doesn't feel right to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Hetty. I would like to move to Evan Naismith on Zoom. And to just let you know that we are in the public forum on the CPA appropriations regarding the Jones Library project. If that's what you wish to speak to, please unmute, state your name, and make your comment.
I'm going to lower my hand then. I want to talk about revenue.
Okay, thank you. We will move to general public comment shortly. Okay, seeing that there are no more participants that wish to make a public comment, do we need to have finance just vote to adjourn, please?
And the finance committee can be adjourned as well if we want to vote with Joe Jane.
Please.
Okay, I will do first the finance committee. Joe Jane?
Yes.
This is a vote. Lynn Griesmer? Aye. Jill, perfect.
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
I'm an I too, Kathy. I'm over here.
Oh, Anna's on the screen. Anna?
Aye.
Looking around the room. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, and Kathy is voting for adjournment. Sorry, I had to look lots of ways to find 5 people.
Thank you, Kathy. And I would like to make a motion to adjourn the public forum.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mandy. Counselor Brevik,
Yeah.
Counselor Connell Martin,
Yes.
Andy Churchill,
Yes.
Anna Devlin Gauthier,
Aye.
Lynn Geismer,
Aye.
Mandy Jo Haneke,
Aye.
Counselor Lord,
Aye.
Sam McLeod,
Aye.
Pam Rooney,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Kathy Schoen,
Yes.
Jennifer Taub,
Yes, I'm getting back on the internet.
Thank you. Counselor Walker is a yes. And with that, the public forum is adjourned.
Thank you, Vice President Walker. As our agenda said, and as Vice President Walker said at the beginning, we will now move into the regular meeting of the Town Council. So at 7 p.m., seeing a presence of a quorum, I am calling the regular meeting of the Town Council on April 6th, 2026 to order. Again, please be advised that the meeting is being held in person and that remote access option for members of the public is provided as a courtesy only. In the event of technology issues with the remote connection, the meeting will continue in person as scheduled as long as there is a presence of the council, a quorum of the council present in the town room or through technological means. The meeting is again still being recorded and is accessible in real time via Zoom, phone, and is a live broadcast on Amherst Media and Channel 9. We have already gone through the hear and be heard, so I will not repeat that at this time. Announcements are that we have our next council meeting is April 27th. On May 4th, we will receive the town manager's budget, and on May 11th, it is not on that announcements list yet, is the planned public hearing of the Finance Committee on the manager's budget. So that will hit the announcements lists and the committee lists soon, but the plan is to hold that public hearing, the Finance Committee to hold the public hearing on May 11th, which is a Monday evening. There are no hearings this evening. And so we will move into general public comment at this time. Anyone wishing to make general public comment who is attending remotely, please raise your hand in the Zoom application. If you are present in the town room and have not signed up with the council clerk, please do so now. Residents are welcome to make public comments on matters within the jurisdiction of the town council. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during general public comment. Public comments are not reflective of the opinions of the town council. The First Amendment broadly protects individuals' rights to address the government, to speak, and to express themselves, including their right to say hateful and offensive things. I am generally unable to shut those commenters down under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution unless their level of speech falls within an exception articulated by the courts, such as fighting words, true threats to a particular individual, harassment of a particular individual, or incitement of imminent lawless activity. If a question exists as to whether a particular speaker is engaging in unprotected speech, I must defer to the principle of freedom of speech. There are 4 hands raised on Zoom of people who wish to make public comment. How many people in the town room have signed up for public comment? 8. 8, so we've got 12. Each commenter will have 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to make their public comment. We'll go with 2.5 minutes. We're going to alternate, so we'll start in the town room, Athena.
Karen Drum.
Kieran, please come on up, have a seat. Make sure the mic should be on. Just speak into the mic if you can state your name and then make your comment, Kieran.
My name is Kieran Drummond, and I am a 3rd grader at Crocker Farm. I want to talk about something that doesn't feel fair in our town. One school will have twice as many students, but only 1 teacher for PE, art, music, library, and technology. The other school have fewer students, but the same number of teachers. That means students at the new school will get less attention, even though there are more of them. That doesn't seem right. I'm also worried about the teachers. Having 1 teacher for so many students will be really hard. They will have to double the work and help twice as many kids. That could make them tired and stressed. And it might be harder for them to give each student the help they need. I believe all students in our town should have the same chances to learn, no matter which school they go to. Please think about how this will affect the students at the new school and how the schools need more money to keep all the teachers. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, Kieran. Evan Naismith, please unmute yourself, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Oh God, that's going to be hard to follow. Okay, Evan Naismith. I'm District 5. All right, I'm going to skip the first part then. All right, I want to talk about the letter, obviously, to Chancellor Reyes. You guys know I like housing. I want to talk about like how it got written, right? When the indie crowd writes letters like this, they start with a conclusion and then they work backward. The facts they manufacture are easily disproven with a quick Google search. For example, the letter claims that UMass lags in its duty to create on-campus housing. Well, according to actual facts, UMass does not lag at all. It's a regional leader in on-campus housing. UMass has more on-campus housing, both in sheer number and as a proportion, than UMass Lowell, URI, UVM, UNH, and the University of Maine. Those are all big schools located in small towns, so we're comparing apples to apples, and UMass leads them all. So unless all regional colleges are laggards, then neither is UMass. But the indie crowd doesn't want you to know that. So instead of linking to a truthful source, they just type out sentences that would support their conclusions and hope you don't fact check. When you point this out, they permanently block your account. There's a reason why these indie writers are not members of the planning board or the finance committee. They are not qualified. Their past applications have been rightfully rejected, and their proposals should be subject to extraordinary scrutiny because these people are not acting in good faith. Tomorrow, I have a piece in the Amherst Current that highlights many of the glaring misrepresentations in this letter. I invite those of you who signed it to defend your work. A vibes-based housing policy is a true threat to our fiscal and progressive future here in Amherst, and we deserve better. The best time for you guys to change your minds was yesterday, but the second best time is now. Please do the right thing and listen to actual evidence. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, Evan. Athena?
Georgia Liederman.
Georgia, please come on up. Have a seat, state your name, where you live, and make your comment.
Good evening. My name is Georgia Letterman. I am a general education teacher at Wildwood Elementary. I'm a resident of East Hampton, but I'm here to speak on behalf of the schools. So I'm speaking to express my deep concern around cuts being made to intervention positions and specials positions. I'm also here to speak in support of a budget scenario put forth by the school committee, budget scenario 2. I'll start by addressing intervention. As a gen ed teacher, my teaching is extensively more effective because of intervention. While differentiation is the cornerstone of good teaching, meeting the needs of every child becomes impossible when there are significant gaps. So while I, like most teachers, make an effort to make our lessons approachable and meaningful for every student in our class, it is impossible to meet the expansive needs, especially when there are gaps of multiple grade levels. I am hoping that we can take the needs of all students into consideration as we choose a budget. The data for intervention proves that it works. Admittedly, it already does not feel like there are enough intervention teachers at the school, especially in math. So please consider these cuts to intervention positions in an effort to provide an equitable chance at success to all students. Next, I'd like to discuss the cuts being made around specials positions. Ditto to everything Kieran said. From the moment I began teaching at Wildwood, I felt a sense of inclusion and creativity that I haven't felt at any other schools. And each special is adapted for students in the special ed programs in a way that truly allows them to participate meaningfully and engage. The school is also bursting with vibrance because the library teacher is able to select specific books for specific students. Our art teacher is able to design special events like our Lunar New Year celebration, which makes different students feel seen and heard. Our technology teacher is able to collaborate with classroom teachers. So I'm deeply concerned that with the cuts being made, the schools will become less inclusive and less vibrant. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, Georgia. John Bonifaz, please unmute yourself, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Good evening, everyone. My name's John Bonifaz. I'm an Amherst resident living in District 1. I want to start by thanking the town council members who unanimously voted at the February 23rd council meeting to pass the Town of Amherst resolution calling for federal immigration agents to be held accountable for violations of Massachusetts criminal law. That resolution included language calling on the Amherst town manager to work, quote, with other Massachusetts local officials, including police and other public safety and municipal leaders, in consultation with legal partners to swiftly develop and implement protocols for protecting the safety and civil rights of all local residents in the event of a federal immigration enforcement action. The resolution also included language that, quote, there is a well-established history of state prosecutions of federal agents and troops who commit crimes in violation of state law, and included a footnote citing key court precedent, which is part of that well-established history. On March 3rd, 2026, in response to that resolution, the town manager issued an executive order. That 3.5-page executive order included only one line addressing how the Amherst Police Department should respond to calls related to ICE actions in the town of Amherst. That line on page 2 of the order states as follows, quote, when responding to calls related to ICE activity, the APD shall take reasonable steps to verify that the individuals on scene are federal agents and gather relevant information. Completely missing from the executive order is any language ensuring that the Amherst Police Department will enforce state criminal law against federal agents if they are engaged in unlawful actions. Contrast that order with what the mayor of Denver, Colorado has recently issued on February 26, 2026. In announcing that order at a press conference, he said it was designed to, quote, protect Denverites from unconstitutional and dangerous federal operations. And he said to protect Denver, if we see any ICE officer using excessive force against a Denver resident, we will step in to detain that officer and remove them from the situation. We hold our own officers to that standard, and we will hold any ICE agent to the same. I urge this town council to call on the town manager to revise his executive order in the same spirit as what the Denver mayor has issued and consistent with the town council resolution that you passed. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for coming tonight. Athena?
Sarah Johnson.
Sarah, please come on up. Have a seat, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Hello, my name is Sarah Johnson. I have lived in District 3 for 6 years and have 2 kids at Crocker Farm Elementary. I am also a first grade teacher at Wildwood Elementary. I want to urge the town council and town manager to consider giving Amherst Public Schools more funding like the school committee has recommended. As you know, with the merging of Wildwood and Fort River, the plan will be to cut some of the specialist teachers. To put things into perspective, in the budget process update shared with me on February 24th, it estimated that 553 students would be enrolled at Amethyst Brook in the first year it is open. Crocker Farm has an estimated enrollment of 245 students for the same year, and the Chestnut Street School is estimated to have 145. So an art teacher at Amethyst Brook will be responsible for educating 553 students, and a Crocker Farm art teacher will be educating 390, since they will also be going to Chestnut Street. They will have the same amount of student-facing time as this year, but knowing the names and needs of 553 students is a massive cognitive load. In the same budget update, it was estimated that 27% of students access special education services in our district. 27% of 553 is 149 students accessing specialized services, which means one specialist will be responsible for being familiar with 149 IEPs or 504s, and most of those students will need accommodations across settings. 27% of the 390 students expected to be enrolled at Crocker Farm and Chestnut Street School is 105. It will not be possible for students to have the same specials experience as they have had in the past with their teachers stretched so thin. If we move on from numbers and think about the people that are potentially getting cut, they are the people that create consistency in a school across years. Students have the same art, PE, library, technology, and music teachers year after year. These people are some of the pillars of our community, and I can't imagine the loss that some of our students will feel knowing that their safe person is no longer there. I also want to bring attention that with this amount of students and less specials teachers, adaptive specials will not be possible for ILC students and others. I currently have 2 students with physical disabilities that access adaptive PE. They feel successful and seen in that space. It has grown their confidence, and I can't imagine a time that we can't make that available for them. This town seems to never have enough money for schools and yet always ends up with a surplus. I think it is shameful to be happy about a surplus when it causes harm to our children. I hope you'll do the right thing for our students. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, Sarah. Darcy Jameson, please unmute yourself, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Hi there, Darcy Jameson from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm Darcy. Hello, town councilor members and members of Amherst. I'm Darcy Jameson, Vice President of Development with Beacon Communities Development. Beacon is a Boston-based affordable housing developer and property manager. I know many of you are familiar with Beacon, but for those of you who are not, we own and manage Rolling Green. And in response to the town's goals to create a new town center in North Amherst, including more retail and housing, we developed North Square at the Mill District. To further support the town's affordable housing creation goals and expressed need for both senior housing and housing for individuals and families, Beacon is proposing a 140-unit affordable apartment community on about 14 acres at 246 Montague Road. Over the last few months, we've had conversations with people in the community and various town departments and boards to share the plan and hear from the community. We're hosting a community meeting next Monday, April 13th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Survival Center located at 138 Sunderland Road in North Amherst. Doors will open at 5 p.m. and our presentation will start at 5:30. The town's Director of Planning and Economic Development, Jeff Bagg, will also be present to share some general information about infrastructure and other planning in North Amherst. The goal of the meeting is for Beacon to share an update on our proposed project and to continue to communicate with the community. We look forward to seeing you on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy, for coming tonight.
Laura Yvonne Steinman.
Laura? Please come on up. State your name and where you live and make your comment.
Good evening. I'm Laura Yvonne Steinman, she, they. I am here from Florence, Massachusetts, and I'm the art teacher and LGBTQIA Art Club facilitator at Wildwood Elementary School. I'm here tonight to advocate that the town of Amherst votes to pass FY27 Scenario 2 budget that the Amherst School Committee voted on and passed. Thank you to the school committee for listening to the teachers who work with students every day. There are 2 reasons to pass Scenario 2 tonight that I'll share with you. There, of course, are many more, but I'll just share 2. I did some math, and budget Scenario 2 comes out to about $3 a day per student to restore the specialist intervention teachers. That's about a cup of coffee. And then the second reason I'll share is that I personally will be cut if this budget isn't restored. I share this reason because of my personal experience. I am someone who benefited from intervention services at an elementary level as a kid in the early 80s. My places of success were in small groups, were in the art studio, and when teachers took the time to know who I was as a person and my personal needs. This made the world of difference to me as a young child and to me as a teacher today. Today, having the time in an art schedule to have an art studio that opens its space to where students can be in a space that they are heard and create art when they're having a hard time is amazing. They can express themselves, be successful, and have positive self-esteem. This is the time and a space for our most vulnerable students. Don't we want that for all of our students to be successful? To be successful and, of course, to feel positive about themselves. To do this, we must invest. and investing is a risk. And I would say that it's a very important risk that we should take and that it will benefit our whole society. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for coming tonight, Laura. Josna Reggae, please unmute yourself, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Good evening, Josna Reggae, District 1. After the town's resolution to hold federal agents accountable for violations of Massachusetts criminal law, our town manager issued an executive order which raised many questions for me that I'd like to be able to ask of our police chief. The resolution called upon the manager to develop and implement protocols for protecting the safety and civil rights of all local residents in the event of a federal immigration enforcement action. This is where the executive order falls short. It rightly states that municipal employees will not participate in an operation led by a federal agency solely for enforcement of federal civil immigration laws. However, it lists exceptions. When requested to assist with support services deemed necessary to ensure officer safety, public safety. But the ICE agent who killed Renee Good said he felt his safety was in danger. What would the APD do in such a situation? Another exception to prevent a breach of the peace during a federal operation, including requests to establish traffic perimeters, control traffic, or provide police escort. But an agent's perception of a breach of the peace is subjective. Would the APD just take the agent's word for it? Third, in response to an arrest warrant or other state or federal judicial order, when would a judicial warrant allow the APD to cooperate? The order stipulates that APD does not inquire with anyone regarding their immigration status. But couldn't APD ask ICE agents to ask for a resident status? I have a number of questions like this. Time is short, but I think I can finish in time. No municipal employee shall obstruct, interfere, prohibit, or otherwise prevent the federal enforcement of immigration laws. But what if the federal government prevents local officials from carrying out their own investigation? The order states if someone is injured in the carrying out of an ICE action, the town will call for emergency medical services. But would the APD prevent a resident from being injured in the first place? In closing, the order keeps Amherst safe from litigation, but I feel that it doesn't keep Amherst residents safe in our own town. Therefore, I'm asking the town council to arrange for a special meeting with the Amherst police chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Josna, for coming tonight.
Chris Herland.
Chris, please come on up, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Hi, my name is Chris Herland. I'm a 25-year veteran of the English department at Amherst Regional High School, and I'm currently the president of the APEA. So I'm speaking here on behalf of the schools. And my colleagues, that wonderful young man back there, I think brought a lot of attention to various details and the way that things are being shifted and funding and things like that. What I wanted to mention was the way things have really changed in the 25 years that I've been there. And I could talk here all night in that regard. I remember writing Caleb's recommendation. Andy Churchill called me at home because Caleb's rec, I think maybe was a little late, or I think it was going to be late like in a couple of days. But anyway, yeah. So, but back then, and I'm going off numbers from a Gazette article back in December, but Amherst was spending upwards of maybe 54% of its budget on education. And that was also right around the time when we had trimesters. The students had amazing opportunities going through the high school, and they still do, but it's not the same. And it was also the last time that the Boston Globe listed us as among the top 10 high schools in the state. That was right around 2009 or so. I can't remember exactly. We were the only ones too. I think we were the only ones, say like west of 495, who were in that list. We're not on that list anymore. Because we've gone from about 54% of the town budget being allocated for education to what now in What they listed at FY 25, I think it was 47. And I'm going off numbers from the Gazette. That's substantial. True. In the same amount of time at the high school, I've seen the population there go from 1,400 students down to, I think we're around 800. We're in the 800s now. However, kids are a lot more expensive to educate. And what is being brought up by my colleagues in regards to cutting things like interventionists and specialists are only going to make things worse. Because by the time then, if they haven't had interventionists and specialists helping them catch up to where they are with the achievement gap just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time they're in the high school, it's insurmountable. And the kids will graduate never having caught up, and they never will. The budget is a document of priorities. And in 25 years, I've watched the priorities of Amherst, which always prided itself on education, with the book on the thing and the farmland and all that stuff. And the budget just doesn't do that anymore. You can't pride yourselves in that way. And it's too bad.
Please finish up, Chris.
Yeah, so that's, like I said, 7% increase. And again, or decrease rather, just in percentage, not in actual number. Like I said, every single year, it gets worse and worse. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, Chris. Kathleen, please unmute yourself, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Traphagen. I live in District 2 in Amherst. First of all, thank you, all of you, for running, for being on town council, for doing what you're doing, for spending your time. Appreciate it. And also everybody who's there in person. 3 quick things. I wanted to talk about that executive order that the town manager put out about the ICE agents and what would happen if they showed up into town or showed up again into town. First of all, thank you, all of you, for voting for that. I'm just very confused as to how he could develop and publish an executive order that is so woefully inadequate compared to what you passed actually says. So I guess that's where I hardly understand the process, that he has the power to just really ignore what it is that you all made clear you wanted. And I hope that you are going to take some action to actually make sure that what you wanted gets implemented in this town. I think the other commenters had a lot of detail about that. So I will just refer to them and thank them for having that comment. But I'd also like to, people were talking about the specials, and I just wanted to say that I ran for school committee. I don't know how many years ago it is now. My children were young, and now, they're not. And I ran on the issue of specials because at the time, the superintendent and the assistant superintendent had an idea that they were going to not have full-time specials in the elementary schools anymore, but instead figure out how many classes needed to be taught across all the elementary schools, and then just hire part-time people who would shuttle around and teach only classes and have no planning time or lunch time to eat lunch with the children, etc. And that was just so against pedagogy and so against the basic idea of what engages children and also what engages families. And the idea that those special people know your children through all the years that they're there, and they actually know your whole family unit. And they are the core and the anchor of so much engagement for the young people. And we have now issues with chronic absenteeism. We have issues with students being disengaged. And this is just all coming back again. It is so depressing. I understand that we have money issues, but not here, not this. Let's just not do the same thing again. And I'll wrap there by just saying that when I ran, the school committee at the time passed it, did the thing with the specials that the superintendent and the assistant superintendent wanted. It was basically a disaster, and they reversed themselves shortly thereafter. So let's just not make that mistake again, please. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for coming tonight, Kathleen.
Laura Jane Hunter.
Laura Jane, please come on up, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Hi, everyone. When I practiced, I'm a little closer to 3 minutes. Can I have a little extra?
Yes, I've been allowing people to go to 3.
Thank you. Laura Jane Hunter, she, her pronouns. I'm here as a resident of Amherst. I am on the school committee, but I'm not here as a school committee member. I'm here as a constituent, D2. As the president of the town council, you have arbitrarily and capriciously decided that you must see all motions in advance. That is not how democracy works. This is not your town council. It belongs to the people who elected you. This is not your money. This is taxpayer money. This is not your fiefdom. This is the people's government. What I've seen since you were elected president is an arbitrary and capricious use of power. You know something is wrong because you keep needing to repeatedly consult with your legal team. That's a waste of my money as a taxpayer. That's money that should go to the schools. I demand that you do your duty as an elected official. As president of town council, it is your responsibility to make space for all voices. By stifling free speech, preventing motions, and closing meetings without listening to the constituents, you are showing fear, not power. What are you afraid of? This is not your town, it's our town. You have tried to silence the DPW workers who are asking for fair wages. You have tried to silence the town councilors who are working for the constituents who elected them and who are trying to breathe life into a stale system. You might be a democratically elected official, but you are allowing the tentacles of totalitarianism and fascism to creep into our town. Local politics is where fundamental change is possible. It is arguably the most important place to protect constitutional rights that this government is trying to erode. I ask you to do your job. Stop trying to hold power and learn to share power. Stop trying to silence and learn to listen. This whole body has the rights to make motions, and they don't need your permission. It is anti-democratic to prevent motions. As president, you should not censor them. You should never take things off the agenda because they don't align with your agenda. If you are afraid of what the other councilors are bringing forward, then it's time for self-reflection. Interrogate your own decision-making. Instead of reactivity, be open. We are desperately trying to protect the Constitution, and this body is a critical part of that protection. Do your duty. Stop brandishing unearned power and share power. I'm going to remind you, you don't get to vote motions in advance. Every single counselor here, every single one of you, has the right to bring forward motions without fear of being silenced. I call on all the counselors here to stand firm, to protect your rights and the rights of your constituents. Make motions, put items on the agenda. Do not let the country's descent into fascism corrupt our local democracy. Also, please fully fund the budget that the school committee has presented to you. It is based on putting the students first, which is the charge of the school committee. Thank you to all of you for your service, but especially to those of you who are not afraid to advocate for your constituents and fight back against the erosion of our rights.
Thank you for coming tonight, Laura Jane.
Vince O'Connor.
Vince, please come on up, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Is it possible for whoever controls this to put the time in the lower left-hand corner so that they're in the field of vision, certainly mine, of people who are speaking here, rather than having to look up in the corner? Because it's really like difficult to both speak and watch the time. Thank you. So Vincent O'Connor, 175 Summer Street, apartment 12. The way to increase the vibrancy and use of any part of a town is to increase the numbers of 12-month-a-year residents. And who are the most likely 12-month-a-year residents? Families with children or families who move here with children or plans to have children. What in the past has attracted most families to live here? Our public schools. We are about to open a new elementary school. What is the best way to herald that school's opening? By voting the budgets voted by the two elected at large school committees. Don't wait till June. Vote this month to put the budgets by the school committees in the manager's budget. When the manager tells you in his May 1st budget about this year's budget surpluses will be, then increase those budgets with a portion of the free cash that will become available. As compensation for allowing the manager to make school budget cuts during the past 5 years by falsely claiming we have no money when every July or August our surpluses have targeted between $5 and $7 million annually. So don't listen to the we don't have a money, because every year $5 to $7 million have been found after July 1st. And any competent manager knows how much the surplus is going to be on May 1st. And this council ought to demand that they get accurate stuff rather than claims that have turned out to be false every single year. So I'm the oldest of 8 children. 3 of those children had RH factor handicaps. One of those children worked for the federal government for 20 years, my sister, my only sister, and she had a top secret security clearance. The 5 white male doctors once came to my family's home and escaped with their lives after suggesting that my mother and father put the 2 of the children, including my sister, in a notorious warehouse for kids with disabilities. Do not turn these schools that the taxpayers have voted for and tried to fund into warehouses for kids with disabilities by allowing the manager to interfere with the considered judgment of our at-large elected school committees. When he puts them in the budget,
Please wrap up.
He is exercising as one unelected person an authority that you should not allow him to exercise.
Thank you for coming tonight, Vincent.
Andy Anderson.
Andy, please come on up, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Good evening. I'm Andy Anderson. I live in District 5. I'm here once again to encourage movement on Amherst's implementation of ranked choice voting. As I mentioned many times before here, ranked choice voting is included in the town charter adopted in 2019 with the expectation that it would be implemented in short order. The entire structure of the town council with multi-member districts and no preliminary elections was designed for use with RCV. But we have been stymied by the decision to seek approval of these details by the state legislature. And now in its 3rd session since then, just last month, it has been kicked to the curb once again. It should be abundantly clear that they have no intention of approving this. We must therefore take another route. I was really disappointed to see that the recent Charter Review Committee also washed its hands of this, making no specific recommendation for how to proceed. But we could consider a charter amendment, which would add the RCV language directly to the charter. We can take this into our own hands with a 3-step process. First, you must pass with a 2/3 vote the detailed language that is already prepared for you by the Ranked Choice Voting Commission, per the Massachusetts Constitution Article, it's like 89, Section 4. Second, the proposed amendment must be reviewed and approved by the State Attorney General as required by state law, Chapter 43B, Section 10. Third, it must be put before the voters for a majority decision, which could happen this November if you don't delay for too long. If there's any concern whether a charter amendment isn't an allowed path, we would know for sure if the Attorney General approves it. I therefore urge you to take this path. Otherwise, I see no possible other route except another charter commission, a difficult but last resort. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for coming tonight, Andy. Athena?
Kristen Riley.
Kristen, please come on up, state your name and where you live, and make your comment.
Hello, my name is Kristen Riley. I'm from Belchertown. I have been teaching in Amherst for 28 years. I work at Wildwood Elementary School. I am a special education teacher. I'm here because I'm really hoping that with whatever power you all do have, that you will do your best to fund our schools. I am, as other people have talked about, I'm very concerned about the children. I'm concerned about what I've seen happen over these 28 years with the funding. I'm concerned that as a special ed teacher, I look at my colleagues and our caseloads are kind of like at our limit, and that's going to change and we're going to increase our caseloads. And for me, it isn't really about how much work I have to do. It's about how effective I can be. It's not, it's like, okay, we're all sitting here doing our best, but as the groups get bigger with kids with significant needs, it gets really hard for them to be able to learn in the same way as when we can keep our groups smaller. So I'm really hoping that you can help provide whatever funding or approve whatever funding so that we can have more specials teachers, more intervention teachers, and hopefully manage to keep as many special ed teachers as we can. I really want to see the best for the future. I really only have 2 full years before I retire. My whole reason for being here is really about the future of our children. This is the future of your community, and I care about them. I love them. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming tonight, Kristen. Athena?
There are no other names on the register.
Thank you. And there are no other hands raised. So at this point, we're going to close general public comment and move to the consent agenda. The following items were selected because they were considered to be routine and it was reasonable to expect that they would pass with no controversy. To remove an item from the consent agenda for discussion later in the meeting, ask that it be removed when I list the consent agenda items. The request to remove an item from the consent agenda does not require a second. So the motion is, if nothing is removed, to move the following items and the printed motions thereunder and approve those items as a single unit. 8A, referral of the Amherst Pelham Regional School District borrowing order, $497,000 for building repairs and equipment. 8B, approval of University Drive amendment of restriction for parcels 13B, 18, 27, 28, and 54 request. 9A, 1 to 2, approval of town manager appointments for the Community Safety and Social Justice Committee and the Council on Aging. 11A and B, approval of minutes for March 23rd, 2026, public forum on supplemental budget appropriations and regular meeting, and March 30th, 2026, special meeting. Are there any requests to remove any items? Seeing no requests, is there a second to the motion?
Second, Ernie.
Seeing no discussion, the motion on the floor is to approve the consent agenda. We will start with Councillor Cano Martin.
Yes.
Andy Churchill.
Yes.
Anna Devlin Gauthier.
Aye.
Lynn Griesemer.
Aye.
Mandy Jo Haneke is an aye. Councillor Lord.
Aye.
Sam McLeod.
Aye.
Pam Rooney.
Yes.
Councillor Ryan.
Aye.
Kathy Shane.
Yes.
Jennifer Taub.
Yes.
Councillor Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Breivik.
Yes.
The motion is approved unanimously. We have no resolutions and proclamations. We have no presentations and discussions. The borrowing order was just approved on consent, and the University Drive amendment of restriction was just approved on consent. And that moves us to Charter Section 2.8, Item C, 8C, Charter Section 2.8, Request for Information, Water and Sewer Revenues and Expenditures. We will start I'm going to recognize Counselor Walker. Would you like to make the motion to put it on the floor and then we'll have discussion if there's a second?
Yes, thank you. My motion is to request that the town manager provide the following information with the proposed FY27 water and sewer rates, the current and projected revenues and expenditures within the water and sewer enterprise funds, an assessment of whether current rate structures adequately support system maintenance and infrastructure needs, workforce sustainability within enterprise funded operations, including recruitment and retention challenges within the Department of Public Works, long-term financial stability of the enterprise funds, consideration of the relationship between enterprise fund capacity and broader Department of Public Works staffing challenges, considerations of whether adjustments to water and sewer rates or alternative structural changes may be warranted to ensure that enterprise funds are adequately resourced in an equitable and sustainable manner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jennifer Taub seconds. The motion is on the floor to request the town manager provide certain information. Counselor Walker, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, so I did provide a memo with my motion in the packet, and hopefully you all have had some time to read it. I think that everything that I would like to say is provided there in the packet, and we did talk about at our special meeting regarding some of the concerns we've heard from DPW workers, and this is my attempt to look at what we can do in the upcoming budget cycle to see if there's any changes that we can make to better support our DPW. I'd be happy to take any questions because I think most of the info is in the memo.
Is there any discussion? I see Lynn Griesemer.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
You can make your motion.
Probably be best to put the motion up on the screen. I apologize for not contacting you in advance. I'd just like to add or do the following. After enterprise fund capacity, comma, and then strike the and.
I think this is in the third bullet point.
Yes. No, this is in
the third main bullet point.
Yeah, hold on. Yes. So maybe what we're really going to do is I'm sorry, I looked at the motion here. If you'd like to go ahead, I'll look at this.
Okay. We will pause while she figures out her motion. Is there any other discussion? Kathy.
In looking at this, Alicia, I was also looking at the detail that we get in the budget book, which is more than we typically get in the rate discussion. So in the budget book, we have line items for payroll, for benefits, for debt service and others. So you can really see each of those and how they've changed over the time. Are you asking in this, it's a question, are you asking that level of detail also be presented when we're talking about rate increases?
Please, Councilor Walker.
Yes, and please tell me if this is not answering your question, but I'm just asking for provided to us, but with a lens of supporting DPW workers, essentially. So this is just some specific things that I think we can look at, which we, again, might have already been receiving when we're looking at the water and sewer rates in our regular budget cycle, but we're looking at it with a different lens and we're providing some analysis as to whether or not we think certain changes could better support the DPW workers. Does that answer your question, Kathy? Because I think it's more about the analysis piece.
I'm not sure what analysis in terms of, I'll give you some examples. Are they working with outdated equipment that makes everything take twice as long? Would be a kind of analysis that affects the workforce. But on the other hand, are we at risk of system failure, which is what we often get in the rate structure, and which also affects the workers. So I'm not sure quite what analysis you get. Is staffing adequate? Is that what you're trying to get at with this? Is staffing adequate within the enterprise funds? I'm just not quite sure what additional information this is asking for. I know what the larger focuses, but obtainable information is what I'm trying to understand.
Counselor Walker?
Yeah, sorry. Is there something specific in this request that you're referring to?
Okay, if I go to the second bullet, an assessment of whether the current rate structure adequately support, underneath it, what we typically get is here are our revenues and here's what we're going to be spending. And on the workforce side, we get is what's the total cost of our workforce? So are you asking bullet 2, are we short staffed? We're getting a staffing number in it. Are you asking whether we're short staffed in bullet 2? So I'm not sure quite what additional information, because we're getting a payroll plus a benefit number and an FTE number that's allocated to each of the pieces. Then the last one, long-term financial stability, a lot of it is driven by the infrastructure costs, not the wage costs. So that one, I think we're already getting. So I'm looking at what information are you looking for that we don't get in enough, asking it with enough specificity that you get what you're looking for.
Counselor Walker?
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, so I think when we heard from the DPW, we heard a number of concerns about staffing. I don't think I am equipped to say whether or not we are fully staffed or need more staff, but I think that's what I'm looking at, particularly when we heard about the water treatment facility and sort of who is qualified to be doing that work and how what the retention has been like there. And so what that will mean for us moving forward. That is something that I don't know, and the numbers don't tell us that without a narrative. And so I think that's where the analysis piece comes in, is that we may be able to figure these things out by looking at some of these numbers, but we cannot figure them out if we don't talk about them through this specific lens in terms of how will these changes impact these things in the DPW.
And so I'd give you an example. We heard that we're losing licensed operators and we're having to retrain them and they're working with expensive. So you're specifically focused on some of those issues. I'm just, whatever we send to the town manager, the more the record can show what kinds of things we're looking for, the more likely we are to get them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And I think that my original plan was to propose this motion during our special meeting where we were specifically talking about a lot of those things. A lot of the concerns that came directly from the DPW, we do have record of. I don't just have them pulled up right in front of me at this moment to be more specific. But I think, again, we heard about retention, we heard about training, we heard about actually operating these facilities, many different things. And I'm wondering if changing the structure for our water and sewer fees is something that could improve that. If not, that's also worded in here, whether or not an alternative or an adjustment may be warranted and that might improve the situation. I think it's something I'm looking for. And again, for the long-term stability, because we've talked about seeing these challenges continue over many years. So I think if we just continue doing the same thing, we will continue to see these challenges. So again, we're looking at this as one way that we might be able to start to mitigate some of the concerns of DPW workers. I don't consider this to be something that's going to be an end-all be-all of the problems are solved. I don't even know if this will bring a resolution, but I think we need to start looking at it this way if we're going to make changes.
Thank you. Lynn?
First of all, I'm not going to make an amendment, but I do want to clarify the following, that under an assessment of whether current rate structures adequately support system maintenance and infrastructure needs, there's two issues. One is we already have a study going on that will be looking at our sewer plant. And that is a huge infrastructure need that will have major cost implications. And so I want to make sure we understand that in there, that is included. And the other thing I want to make sure we understand is in there, and that is that we have now been presented with the basics, if you will, of a 5-year road and sidewalk plan. but every time you go in and you redo a road, if you've got to replace the sewer and the water underneath the road, that is a huge expense. And if you're going to tear up a road, the time to replace the 100-year-old water and sewer systems is at that time. Is that included in there? Otherwise, thank you very much for being very thorough. I just wanted to make sure that if we're going to look at this, we look at it with all of those other structural issues. I have one other piece too, and that is there a possibility of looking at differential rates for high users? In other words, high users have to pay more. Thank you.
Do you have any response, Councilor Walker?
Yes, Lynn. So under the second bullet, system maintenance and infrastructure needs, my thoughts was that's where that would be included, but maybe Paul, just in the event that this motion does pass, take note that specifically taking into consideration the 5-year road and sidewalk plan and sort of anything that may happen there in regards to water and sewer would be helpful. And I think, again, to the differential rates for high users is, in my opinion, would be covered under the last bullet, which was structural changes. But if you would like more specificity, okay.
I believe that the record stands on the.
Jennifer.
Yes, I guess when the question was what were we what were each of us hoping would come out of what kind of information would we like to get back? This is very basic, but I would also be interested in knowing, since one of the issues is how Amherst pay scale compares to other towns, that if we wanted to bring salaries up, would changing the water and sewer rates help to do that? Because I know sometimes you think, well, if we save money here, we can spend it there, and then we're told, no, that's not how that works. But would there be, or could there be, a relationship between increasing water and sewer rates and the compensation? You know, because if we say we want to raise the compensation, where's the money going to come from? Could this be one of the places it comes from?
Would you like to respond?
I don't have an answer to that. Yes.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's something the town manager will also bring to us with this request. And maybe it's mentioned somewhere in my memo, but I know that it's slightly more complicated because not all of the staff for the DPW are, not all of their salaries come from the enterprise fund. So it might be not an equitable resolution, which is why I said adequately resourced in an equitable and sustainable manner, because I want to make sure it will be applicable to all of the DPW workers, but I'm just hoping for some more information on what that would look like.
Councilor Cano Martin.
Hi, I just wanted to speak briefly just in favor of the motion, the request for information. I do think this is going to give us a lot of valuable information about this one particular action item that came out of our special meeting. So in really knowing, you know, how potentially changing the water and sewer rates could impact our ability to run the DPW fully staffed and retaining our staff, and also doing something about the condition of the public works infrastructure in town would be extremely valuable. And I just wanted to thank Councilor Walker for putting this together.
Thank you. Andy Churchill.
Yeah, I see this as a resource inquiry, really, and or at least that's how I read it. That some of our DPW workers, the ones dealing with water and sewer, could potentially be paid through water and sewer enterprise funds. And so does that then have the effect of growing the pie for wages more broadly? So I guess that would be what I would try to keep it as simple as possible. But basically, is there a way that water and sewer rates could be a source of additional revenue that would enable us to expand the pie of revenues in an equitable way to deal with the conflicting or the demands on our resources that are limited? Does this expand the pie in some way that would be legitimate?
Paul.
Yeah, so I don't want to have false expectations. So when we all the water and sewer employees get paid out of the water and sewer enterprise funds. That's where all the money comes from. That's where and so if there are other things that those funds pay for as well. You can't take money from water and sewer and put it into a different pot unless you're getting services from that. You might be hiring 10% of a backhoe operator to work on water and sewer stuff. So we can justify that. So it has to be justified. The water and sewer enterprise fund has to be self-sustaining. And we would like, and what you're saying is like, let's make sure we're putting everything we can into the water and sewer rates so we can, because that's something the council can increase. So if that's how I'm understanding, but we can't go take money, raise it. It doesn't expand the pie at all. It just says there's more money for water and sewer services, but we can't take that money and put it into a different part of the DPW.
Can I
Yes, you may.
follow up on that? So I guess if there are water and sewer employees who are paid by anything outside of water and sewer, there are not. Okay. So I guess it would be any expenses that are shared with other.
No.
So every water and sewer employee and all of the water and sewer equipment is already paid through.
Yes.
So if we were to increase water and sewer rates, what would that do for us?
Well, we're gonna have to pay adjustments that we're already negotiating in. So that has to come there for the water and sewer employees. That will come out of the water and sewer fund. The studies that we're doing and the infrastructure improvements, like the new gravity belt thickener that we've installed at the wastewater treatment plant, was $3.2 million. And then the $21 million Centennial Water Treatment Plant, the 100% of those expenses go onto the water and sewer rates as well. And I think all these other things that the counselor has requested, we typically put together, but I think not incoherently as you're sort of asking us to summarize, which we were hoping to put that together. I will have to talk to the finance director, see if we can really get it done by April 27th, which is what our goal had been. So we'll do our best on that.
Thank you. Lynn.
I actually I think I heard Andy differently. Maybe I didn't. But if we build into the water and sewer rates any salary increases, those increases would also then impact people that are not paid through the water and sewer funds. And what will be the additional impact on the rest of the DPW budget based on any negotiated raises? But I assume that you will already have that in the budget. So, but they don't stand alone. There's part of this, most of them are part of the same union, I believe. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other hands, we're going to move to a vote on the motion to request information from the town manager. We start with Andy Churchill.
Aye.
Anna Devlin Gauthier.
Aye.
Lynn Griesemer.
Aye.
Mandy Johanicky is an aye. Counselor Lord.
Aye.
Sam McLeod.
Aye.
Pam Rooney.
Yes.
Counselor Ryan.
Aye.
Kathy Shane.
Yes.
Jennifer Tubb.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Brevick.
Yes.
And Counselor Cano Martin.
Yes.
That is unanimous. It is just after 8 p.m. So we're going to take our break. We'll take a 7-minute break or so. So we'll come back at 8:10. It is 8:10, so if we could come back and gather so we can continue with our meeting. We have Anna. If you turned off your video during the break, please turn it back on. Okay. We are moving on to item 8D1. So I am going to, this is the plan for relocating DPW employees. I'm going to ask Councillor Ken Martin to make a motion and see if there's a second. And if there is, you'll be able to speak to your motion.
Great. And there's just a couple of like orthographical errors in this. So do you want me to say that as I go? Or?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay. So the motion is on a plan for relocating DPW employees. The motion is that the town manager presents a plan by May 4th, 2026 to the town council that provides for the following. A, the relocation of at least 50% of all town personnel currently assigned to, it should say DPW building, to suitable temporary workspaces by August 1st, 2026. B, the relocation of 100% of all town personnel currently assigned to the building to suitable temporary workspaces by October 1st, 2026. C, a mechanism for current DPW staff to provide input on the relocation process and the identification of adequate temporary facilities. D, regular updates to the town council on progress towards the goals of the plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councillor Breivik seconds it. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Ken Martin?
Yeah, and I had originally included a preamble with my motion, so I'm just going to read a bit from that as well. So given that the Amherst Town Council has been provided with ample documentation that the building located at 586 South Pleasant Street, Amherst, currently used for the town DPW operations, is unsafe for continued occupancy due to documented structural deficiencies, hazardous conditions, and code violations that pose a credible risk to the health and safety of the town staff and the public. That's given that I made the motion. And I do believe that moving the staff out of the building is extremely necessary to do as quickly as possible to prevent injury, illness, reduce our legal liability as a town, and to make sure that we can continue to provide our town services as they need to be provided. So that is why I'm making this motion. And again, I just want to emphasize that we're asking that the town manager present a plan so that we can talk about it and that he's able to analyze how this might be accomplished with as much input as possible from the folks that are actually using those spaces. And it also is prioritizing the health and safety of the workers by doing this in a relatively quick time period, but hopefully not too quick to be feasible. Thank you.
Thank you. We are open for discussion at this time. Counselor Brevik.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say, I think having something in writing that we can discuss will help us from, keep us from speculating and help us stay grounded in facts about the situation, as it's pretty complex. And so I think, while I know there are a lot of demands on the town manager's office right now, I do think it would be helpful to have something really definitive that we can work with and that can help us frame our decision making and again ground us in facts on this topic.
Thank you. Counselor Ryan.
So I agree, having something like this will be helpful. I guess my only concern is just the time frame and to what degree 30 days is adequate for at least the first stage of this. I don't know if the manager has any thoughts on it. He may not. But that's, I guess, my only concern. It's just feasibility and time. This has been an issue for a long time. People have thought a lot about it. But I think this brings us to a focus point and it gives us a chance to hear what can or cannot be done given that this has gone on for so long.
Thank you. Pam?
I appreciate the request for this in writing and for taking action. I believe that at the next meeting for the DPW Building Committee, there will be a discussion of swing space. I am a strong believer that we need to get people out of the building as quickly as we can, and keeping the feet to the fire for the committee. And I think it's the committee at this point rather than just the town manager to get in writing all the options that we have for swing space to make some rational decisions about what makes sense to move people into as relatively a somewhat permanent position for them for the next couple of years until a new facility is finished. And I don't want to have to move people 2 or 3 times if we can't do a rational and logical organization of their, I'll just call it their swing space, their temporary home.
Kathy?
The motion's not up on the screen, but I just want to talk about timelines because I agree the sense of urgency is a good way to commit. I don't think there's any way we'll have a plan within 30 days. I think putting a time limit on having a plan, so potentially 60 days, 100%. If you look at the very complex operations that are in the building, including a giant bay where they repair, it's possible that you could be, it's possible, it might be possible, let me say it that way, that you could knock off part of the building and leave the repair bay and then build around it. The repair bay is one where you can't move giant trucks into a house or into another building. So 100% doesn't seem like a goal, but I think the notion of, do we have a staged plan to move people out? Have we identified space where we could put them in as swing space? And then the other part, I know the building committee will be looking at if we can build a structure at Ruskin that would be a permanent structure, but could house a fair number of people while we're knocking down the rest of the building. How soon could that decision be made? So I think more nuanced would be great with this, with a somewhat different timeline. You know, if you, Amber, I don't know whether you've taken a tour of the building, but there's some sophisticated electronics that monitor the water supply. It doesn't easily just move into another building. It's got to have Wi-Fi, it's got to have linkages. So I think office staff, engineers, some design people can relocate more easily, but if they're not with the teams they're working with, that separation may not make sense. So all I'm asking, what I'm suggesting is we look at the timelines you put in here, maybe not put specific dates, but 30 is probably too short to get a plan. 60 might be reasonable. And then ask for in that plan, how would we do this over the next till December? I mean, we've got a big building becoming available as potential, and what places are we looking at? So I just think we've got to ask for something reasonable or we won't get anything at all. So, and I'm not capable of making specific changes other than to say, I think we need to be pragmatic about what we're asking.
Thank you. Before I recognize anyone else, Councillor Walker, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I just can't find my unmute.
I just wanted to make sure you could hear us since you rejoined the meeting.
Thank you.
Anna Devlin-Gauthier.
I think my question is very similar to Kathy's, but framed a little bit differently. I also appreciate the efforts to clarify this in writing. I'm curious about how you came to the 50% and 100% for the same concerns that Kathy had. I think, in talking to some of the DPW workers, and having visited the building, it's clear that to move some of them would be something that will take more than this time, and may not be possible depending on what temporary spaces are available. And so I'm curious if we can ask the question of Paul of what would it take to move the entirety of the folks in that building to move 100%, and then where we get to the 50% number, or what breakdowns we might be able to do to kind of get as many as possible into new working conditions. Because, I think, is it worth asking Paul to include those percentages? I'm concerned about the ones that are in here, or just if you could clarify how those came to be, that would be helpful as we think about how to move forward productively.
Councillor Kenna Martin.
Yeah, so I can respond to that. I think the writing of the motion was really taking into account the unacceptable level of health and safety risks to the DPW workers in the building currently. And the way that that I broke it down was, by 50 and 100, because I don't think it's reasonable to get 100% out that quickly. But certainly, I think the folks that are easier to move, as folks have mentioned, there's folks who are just using office space, and office space is a little bit easier to come by than some of the needs of the larger equipment that folks have mentioned that needs to be relocated. And I also just wanted to say too, a really key part of this motion is input from the DPW employees themselves. I've had a chance to chat with them as well. And while they very much want to move, they don't want to be put in a situation that is worse than they're currently in. And so, they would really like to have input. And also the use of their considerable knowledge of our facilities can be helpful in figuring out what could be feasible and what could not be feasible. So drawing on the knowledge of the workers that are doing this work every day, I think that we can come to a solution, hopefully within the time frame mentioned.
Can I clarify? Because I think I jumbled sorry. So Amber, are you saying that based on what you just said, that 50% of the workers are kind of desk workers and so they could be moved? I think that's my question is 50% a feasible number in the 30 days?
Councillor Kenna Martin.
So I don't have that breakdown of what percentage fall into categories. So no, the answer to that question is no. I don't know what percentage falls into that category.
Okay, I would love if that's something we could ask the town manager in terms of the feasibility piece of kind of how many folks could be moved within 30 days? How many folks will take longer? I think that's the question I was trying to sort of get at, and I think it's similar to what Kathy was saying too. Thank you.
Hold on. I'm going to recognize the town manager, Paul. There's been a couple of questions there. I think there were questions. 30 days is in the motion, 30 days is for presentation of a plan, and there's been questions about that. And then the 50%, the 100%, and the timing related to each of the 50 and 100%. I don't know how much of that you can address, but I'm going to recognize you to see.
So, and I note that the superintendent of public works is here as well, so he can chime in as well. So I think that the percentages and the timing is a challenge. If we don't have space that's readily occupiable, so we would have to go out and procure the space. We would need an appropriation from the council to pay rent on a space that we would procure. Unlikely to be in the town of Amherst. There'd be a question whether it would be in the town of Amherst, what the ramifications of not being in the town of Amherst are. It might be not insignificant. So there are no facilities that we have available to us right now that where people can occupy. So the North Amherst School doesn't have restrooms. We don't have access to Wildwood until September at the earliest. So we wouldn't be able to meet these challenges with buildings that we own currently. So we would be looking in the private market to rent space to accommodate folks. I think that that's how, just as you're speaking to it, that's how I'm trying to think, how would I meet these goals that the council had put forward? I think there's a really serious issue with access to the town's INET, which is our intranet that connects everything, especially for the water and sewer treatment facilities. That doesn't go everywhere. It goes to specific town-owned buildings. It doesn't even go to the North Amherst School. We'd have to extend the INET into that building. I think we can access Wildwood, but we'd have to go through the school district to utilize their network. So there's lots of complications to when you relocate a complex organization like this. Some functions could be moved pretty quickly. A lot of the employees who are stationed out of the DPW building aren't actually in the building that often. They come in, they report in, they get in their trucks, and they start doing their work, and they're out in their trucks most of the day. And so that might be something we could relocate more quickly, I think. Guilford, do you have any thoughts, if I can, through the president?
Guilford?
Yes. First, we as a department, we talk about this a lot, are really excited and thankful that it's actually becoming an issue and you're seeing it. We are quite concerned about being moved someplace that's just moved to another spot that's a little bit better than where we were and being stuck there. We would prefer to make the plan to develop the move and make the move to a final position. So we're not spending money to put ventilation in the Wildwood Gymnasium or trying to redo something else to be a sort of a DPW for 2 years. We would really like to address the moving forward, decide where we're going, consolidate on that, and just move the plan forward. You could move the office staff if you wanted to. It's not the office staff interacts a great deal with the rest of the staff, so there would be a lot of challenges in how to make that work and break the barriers of being separated. So that picking the office staff, which is only 10 people roughly, which is less than a quarter of what's in the building, that would be a problem. I don't think there's a single building in Amherst that we could possibly use for the vehicle maintenance facility, unless I don't think there's a single building. So that would be a problem. And then we are working now on a plan to move the water controls and the water computers out of the building. We're going to take those to Atkins to set up a permanent control at Atkins, so that Atkins and Centennial will have the same controls, and then the new DPW building will have a third set of controls, and you'll be able to control all three from 3 places. So we're working on that plan. It won't be ready for probably another 4 months, and then we have to bid it and build it. So there's a lot of little moving things, but we really appreciate just moving it forward and just making some decisions and making sure this moves forward.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yeah, one question, if it is going to be inconvenient or less feasible to move, I can understand that you don't want the DPW employees scattered around town or some in town, some not in Amherst. I moved here from Southern California, and maybe it's the weather that makes this possible, but I know when my children started school, they were building a new school building. It wasn't ready in September, so they used mobile classrooms. I mean, that's something temporary, and they're nice. So could something like that be a solution, and they could actually be, on the current site of the DPW, so they're not far away. They have some temporary quarters that people could work in, so at least they're in a healthy building. So I hope that would ask if that could be part of, looked into as part of the plan. And then my other question is, when do we realistically see a certificate of occupancy being issued to the DPW building? My sense is it's not going to be before sometime in 2028, if then. So, when we talk about keeping the employees in the current facility, think we're really talking about 2 or 3 years, and that seems like too long. So that's, yes, I totally agree with Guilford, we need to move forward to a new building. But staying where they are for 2 or 3 years is in an unhealthy building doesn't seem feasible or the right thing to do.
Thank you. Our rules provide that counselors that haven't spoken get preference over those that have, so I'm going to move to Sam McLeod.
Thank you, Mandy, and I appreciate the motion and the intent behind it. As I read it and thought about it, I did have some concerns that jumped into my mind. Timing and feasibility were primary. I don't, and nor would I, and I don't think any of us know just how long it will take and what percentage of the employees is a reasonable number to try to move. So I have some concerns about putting fixed numbers on things. I like the concept, however, and I'm glad to hear from the town manager and the director of the DPW, because I think the director of the DPW is in the know more than most of us about what the unique situation might be in terms of managing the organization. I'm wondering if there's a way that this motion can be used as a mechanism to prompt, which I believe is the intent behind it, this discussion, and to elevate and/or / expedite the discussions about feasibility of a interim space, whatever that might be. I did have concerns regarding the potential expenses with this as well, in terms of a short term, but at the same point, I think based on our last meeting, we all, most of us, or most of the comments that I heard from the council was in favor of trying to find options. And so I'm not sure how to address it in regards to the specific motion that's here. My inkling would be to remove the percentages and maybe request that a time frame be provided to us as to what might be feasible, rather than providing a specific time period to the town manager and/or the DPW. But I think that the intent and goal is what's important here. And I'm in favor of the goal of trying to address the situation. Now, it's been 10 years ago, the letter that we received from Thielman and others, and some of the reports that this has been going on. So I'm not sure if a 30-day or even a 60-day time period is as critical as it might seem, despite the conditions. And I'm not saying that to minimize it. I'm just indicating that it might be beneficial to provide a little bit of flexibility in the thought process of the DPW, and perhaps the director of the DPW and the building committee and the town manager could get together and identify options. And I understand that's what's written into the intent, but I think I hesitate about putting firm numbers in there, and I'm not certain that the council has the information that it needs to put particular deadlines in this. So I'm in favor of the concept, and I'm wondering how we might get to an appropriate planning process, I guess would be the word. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Griesemer.
My comments are not totally dissimilar from Sam's. So I totally and completely respect the spirit and intent of the motion. The question and the issue that it raises for me, and that is, given the knowledge about the building that the existing administration and their staff have about what parts of the building are worse than others, et cetera. And given the knowledge that, for example, we've already heard about some piece of it being moved off to another site, it seems to me that the best thing that we could do is say, by a certain time, like 30 or 60 days, could you please present to the council a plan for moving people out as fast as possible and financially feasible? And so for example, I don't know if this is true, but my sense has always been that, but this is me exchanging ignorances, which is what we start to do at this point. My impression has always been that the administrative offices are actually one of the places that are in better shape. And so maybe the administrative offices are some of the places that need to be, the direct administrative offices need to be moved last. I don't know those issues. And if somebody on the council feels that they know this building at that level, I'd be surprised. But I do know some people who do know that building to this level. One of them is on the line here, and the staff are the rest of the people. So what is the best and most reasonable way to move this staff and vacate the property so that we can move forward with building on that property, which we're going to have to do. We have to vacate it to build on it. And so it seems to me that the motion we really should be looking for, and I don't have one written, is one that says by a certain time, we would like the town manager to present to us the plan for transition to temporary space. And with that, stress the urgency of having it be done as fast as possible to get people out of a sick building and financially feasible as well. Because we could end up spending twice as much money in moving when we really maybe didn't have to move exactly everybody. So,
Andy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I would like to see as well. What are the different types of work being done in that facility? Which parts of the facility are most hazardous to the workers, and what does that then entail as far as moving people out? So I'd like to see a more general plan for moving to temporary facilities, and to have that plan articulated to us in, say, 2 months. I don't know. We're in budget season, but I think, again, the idea that some of the most easily moved people might be in the least hazardous settings makes me think that I'd rather say we want to know what the plan is for transitioning out based on safety and feasibility, and sort of give a time frame for that, but not go much more detail than that.
Councilor Brevik.
So I would be in favor of a couple of changes that I think resonate with what a lot of people have been saying. I think one of them is extending the amount of time that we give the town manager's office to come back with a plan, from 30 to 45 days. And then I also think removing the percentages or generalizing the percentages and replacing the numbers with the intent of language that gets at the intent. So I'm not exactly sure what that would be right now, but office staff and more complicated staff, or something that gets at that. We want to see sort of the phases of this. And then I would just say, I think keeping the deadlines, which are at 4 months and 6 months out, I guess. I think the October deadline, thinking about both the significant legal liability that we're looking at here and the significant health risks. I think about one of the comments that one of the DPW workers made about having to keep the doors open in the winter in the freezing weather. as a trade-off with, inhaling fumes or being freezing. And I just think keeping a deadline in here, I'm sure deadlines that are shared by the town manager's office and others, want to see this taken care of before another winter. But I do encourage keeping some deadline in there and then maybe stating it as with a goal of date, understanding that the information that we get back in the report may affect what that date is, but we're still saying as a council that we really want to set a goal of a certain date.
Councilor Ryan.
This is always dangerous, but I was willing to try and offer an amendment along some of the lines that Councilor Breivik was suggesting and that perhaps the motion maker would be open to, but I'm willing to try that, but I don't have a deadline in my suggested amendment, but it could perhaps be introduced. My thought behind this proposed amendment would be really what we need is some understanding of what's possible, what's feasible, and setting specific deadlines doesn't seem to work. With no deadline at all, I hear what Councilor Breivik is saying. It sort of leaves it open. I think the manager hears the urgency. I'm sure we just heard from the DPW director. He's, sees the need. Perhaps a deadline could be kept. Well, anyway, I was willing to make a proposal, an amendment, if the chair is willing to tolerate it. The other option is simply to send this back and have the motion maker rephrase it or redo it and bring it to us. But we could try it here now. I don't know.
Please make your motion to
All right,
amend.
thank you. Again, so the first item that the town manager presented plan within, I was going to suggest 60 days of the adoption of this motion. Again, that's not quite what Council Breivik had in mind, but anyway, 60 days. I would change 30 to 60. I was going to remove A and simply have A read now, the relocation of all town personnel currently assigned to the building to suitable temporary workplaces or spaces, period. Again, without any specific days or anything like that. But so that would be B. A would be deleted. B would simply read the relocation of all town personnel currently assigned to the building to suitable temporary workspaces. I was going to insert C because I'm hearing that there's some, I think, desire to hear what this would cost. Again, I don't know if the proposer of the motion would be happy with this, but I would insert C, provide a budget for this move and funding sources. Or you could say provide a cost estimate and possible funding sources for C. Then D would become what is currently C, and C would become D, and D would become E. I would keep that language, and of course I'd keep 2. So my main changes are 60 days, and then I would remove A. That's what I'm proposing.
So I'm going to restate that motion. I believe you're trying to make it a motion. Athena, can you put the current motion that's on the floor up? And I'm going to try and summarize that in a way that is actual language and then seek a second. It's the next one down. We're on 8D1. Yeah, there we go. So I believe Councilor Ryan's intended motion was to replace May 4th, 2026 with June 29, 2026. I am literally picking the closest council meeting to 60 days. And then delete A. And in B, delete 100% of.
Can we add DPW building?
Yeah, I will, but not the word of, just 100, the first of, keep the first of, delete the second of in B. Yeah. So it reads the relocation, I guess either way it would have worked, the relocation of all town employees. It's getting late. Sorry, Athena. And delete by October 1, 2026.
George, would
add the DPW was already in, yeah.
Would Councilor Ryan be okay with leaving the October 1st with a goal of October 1st?
So I'm going to propose other language as I restate his. As soon as, and replace that with as soon as feasible, but with a goal of. And then I guess we could leave with a goal of October 1, 2026. So to keep the by gone. Adding a clause underneath. So B becomes A, and then you add a B, I guess, technically, that says provide a cost estimate and possible funding sources for relocation. And the only one we're missing is the first clause of present a plan by, should read June 29th, is Councilor Ryan's proposal. Did I capture all of that correctly? Yes. Is there a second to that motion that is shown on the
Second.
screen?
Second, Griezmann.
Is there discussion on the motion to amend that is now on the floor? Yes.
Was this your motion or?
This is
Councilor
Councilor Ryan's motion that is
Okay.
Man, yeah.
it's a motion to amend. He did it very vaguely, so I was making it more specific.
I'm just asking if you want to be the one that makes the motion or.
It's Councilor Ryan's motion.
I object in favor.
Restated as the presiding officer, so it's clear. And Lynn Griesemer seconded it, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah. I see, well, my hand is, I'm going to lower my hand. I was going to make a motion to amend. So I see Lynn Griesemer's hand is up. Lynn?
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. But I also respect the fact that we would like to keep the goal, if feasible, of October 1. And I understand the desire to do this as soon as possible, but thank you.
Sam McLeod.
Andy, so the comment currently is related to the amendment, I believe.
Yes.
So a question, do we want to add in the request for the town manager to come back with a plan with a goal of October 1st, 26th, do we want to add something related to recommendations that the town manager might have? I think it's somewhat implicit in the request, but perhaps there's something we're not thinking of that maybe the town manager and or in discussions with the director of the DPW only want to move 90%. Maybe there's 10% with the big bay that they don't want to move for some reason that aren't in a particular. I'm just wondering if that would be beneficial to have a slightly open-ended flexibility to receive input if it doesn't meet the 100%. Oh, we got rid of the 100%. Okay. All town personnel. So, maybe there's 5%, 10% that shouldn't be moved. Maybe they're not even exposed to anything. And I don't know. That's why I'm raising this. So I don't have a specific amendment. I'm raising the discussion.
If anyone would like to respond to that question, there was no motion to amend the amendment on the floor. Councilor Ryan.
I think there's enough room here that the manager could come back in his report. And if it turned out that it wasn't feasible and he would give the reasons why you couldn't move 100% or everyone, I'm not sure that would, it wouldn't meet the literal terms of this. But I hear what Councilor McLeod is saying, that we're really trying to figure out what's possible. We don't know. We obviously going to need the input of those who do know. I think the language is okay as it is. I don't know what others think, but if it comes back that there's a good reason why a certain part of the building should still function throughout this, I think he could make a case for that. I don't know.
Jennifer.
No, I agree with what Councilor Ryan just said. I think there's enough flexibility, but at some point, everyone will have to be moved out when the building comes down to build a new one.
Okay. Sam, your hand is still up.
Well, I had it on the previous item, but since we have an amended motion, I guess that's the current. I was wondering
if it's not on the amendment, hold it till after we vote the amendment.
Okay.
Because the discussion is limited to the amendment, everything in red right now. Seeing no other discussion in red, we will move to a vote on the motion to amend. So a yes vote would change everything in red as it's shown in red, and no vote would keep the original motion on the floor. We start with Anna Devlin Gauthier,
Aye.
Lynn Griesemer,
Aye.
Mandy Jo Haneke is an aye, Counselor Lord,
Aye.
Sam McLeod,
Aye.
Pam Rooney,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Kathy Shane,
Yes.
Jennifer Taub,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Brevik,
Yes.
Counselor Kenna Martin,
Yes.
Andy Churchill.
Yes.
The motion to amend is unanimous. We are back to the main motion on the floor that is the motion as shown in red and black now.
Mandy, since we just did that, can she just fix it because there's an extra 4 after June 29, just so we can read it? See, it says June 29, 4.
Oh, the 4 is deleted. There it is. Yep.
Just be helpful to see it.
Yeah, so she's just showing it now as it will read as amended, and that's the motion that is now on the floor. Sam?
Thank you, Mandy. I'd be interested in hearing any comments from the town manager and or the DPW director on what we're proposing. I'd also be interested if this counselor has any interest in commenting and hearing from our representative on the DPW building committee, if she has any thoughts on this or not. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I wondering if, in which case it'd be fine to not say anything, but I think given what we're contemplating, we all have the same general objectives. Maybe there's some interesting ideas. My guess is that the current amendment is flexible enough to accommodate all the varied options, but it doesn't hurt to hear if anyone has anything. But
Pam?
I think I said at the beginning that I support the intent of this, excuse me, the intent of this to keep the pressure on the building committee to work through these details. There are so many different functions housed in that building that, and so many literally moving parts in that building that are not going to be easily transferred to another location until their final resting place, if you will. And again, I think the committee and everyone involved is very much focused on exactly the intent of this, getting people out of this building and getting them into facilities that work. I don't want to jeopardize any interim steps that need to be made, such as using other properties for the final home for a particular element. And I can't even name the element at this point. What would be housed at Ruxton? What would be housed at the wastewater treatment facility? I mean, these are the kinds of questions that we need to work through as a team with the consultant who's going to do the analysis on what's needed in the new facility. So sort of arbitrarily moving people around is not a good idea, but trying to move people into safe housing is important, and that can be accomplished. It can be accomplished as quickly as possible, to the extent possible.
Paul, did you want to add anything?
No, I think we can meet the requests that the council looks like it will be voting for. I think the only thing that I have not really had this discussion about is if the building committee's consultant who will be has some of the same tasks on there, if there is going to be in conflict with the work that the building committee will be doing. But this gives us a chance to start working on the requests from the council on this. And I think we've already started so much of this work.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, we will move to a vote on the main motion, which is the motion as amended. It's showing up on the screen right now. The amendment is included in that, what's on the screen. We start with Lynn Griesemer.
Aye.
Mandy Jo Haneke is an aye. Counselor Lord.
Aye.
Sam McLeod.
aye.
Pam Rooney.
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Kathy Shane,
Yes.
Jennifer Taub,
Yes.
Counselor Walker,
Yes.
Counselor Brevik,
Yes.
Counselor Kendall Martin,
Yes.
Andy Churchill,
Yes.
Anna Devlin Gauthier.
Aye.
That is unanimous, 13-0. That motion passes. We're moving on to item 8D2, DPW Building Committee Charge. I will recognize Counselor Ken Martin again to make a motion.
Once again, I have a quick amendment to my own motion. It's small. Well, maybe it's not.
Just read it with the amendment.
Okay, to request that the town manager amend the Department of Public Works Building Committee charge and composition with the following. Change the number of, it should say voting members from 8. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. Well, I'm proposing that it be a voting member. So that we make it a voting member. So it would be, there's currently, how many? Okay, so yeah, it would change from 7 to 8 voting members. And, sorry, I've got too many tabs open. And add the words DPW employee parentheses voting to the composition of members list.
Is there a second?
I second that.
That was Counselor Walker. The motion is on the floor. Counselor Ken Martin, you may speak to your motion.
Thank you. Yes, so this is part of the response to what we heard from the DPW workers at our special meeting last night. I think it's really, really important to have their feedback on this crucial building committee, just because these workers are the folks that are using the facilities day in and day out, and they have so much knowledge about them and so much that can be gained from hearing from their experiences actually doing these jobs. It's actually very similar to our previous motion about having worker input on the move. So I think it only follows that we should have worker input as well on the building committee. I do really appreciate that we have Guilford Mooring already on the committee, but I think that having this additional voice will add the worker voice who has experience doing some of these jobs and using the building in different ways. And the reason that I had changed it to voting was just because I saw that I think every other town staff person on the committee is a voting member. So I think that it would be important to give the workers this voice as voting members.
Thank you. Kathy?
And conceptually, I'm fine with DPW employee being on the committee. However, I think increasing the voting size to 8 means it will be hard to get a quorum. A quorum of 7 would be 4, a quorum of 8 is 5. And the committee couldn't meet then. And what my experience on the building committee has been is that people who had full-time jobs in the school often couldn't come. So the scheduling, we scheduled as much as we could around them at key times. And then the other thing is non-voting members of finance. We've given their views the same weight as we give voting members. So it's not that not having a vote matters. I'm just worried about overloading the committee where quorum, it's really important that this committee meets. And I would hate to not see it not meet just because of a conflict with scheduling time. You'll also have, depending on which DPW employee wants to take this on, in the schools we had the head of facilities for a while, we had the second facilities, we had 2 principals. I mean, we had, and superintendent, we had a lot of people who knew a lot about the building. So I think it's just, we need to avoid making it difficult for the committee. So I favored your original motion that I saw before we came here, which was to add a worker with a non-voting member to the extent a worker wants to, not to increase the voting number size. I would oppose it at the number of 8. It just makes it more difficult to meet unless I'm misreading it. Thank you.
Counselor Ryan?
Well, I hadn't thought of that concern, but I really do think that Councilor Kenna Martin's motion here is the right one. I think that the workers need to have a voice, and it should be a voice that counts. And so I would support this motion, and as it's been amended, I'm sure that they can figure out a way to have a quorum. I think that's not a concern that I think is that great. Certainly not one that merits not adding this voice. And I think also it should be a voice that actually has a vote attached to it. So I would support the motion as amended.
Pam Rooney.
I heard the word Henry, so I thought I was waiting for somebody named Henry, sorry. If I look at the existing composition of the committee, there is a staff person from the town who is an experienced builder and contract construction manager who is the non-voting member. I would say that Bob Parent is a key player on the committee, even if he's not a voting member. And it goes to what Kathy said, people are valuable for their input. I would be embarrassed if the process went through and the working members of each department were not heard. I hope we meet with each and every department and learn the functions inside out, learn them as well as the consultant learns them. And if the folks in that department don't feel heard, shame on us. I would support having an additional non-voting member. And part of that was, I guess Kathy actually said similar. It's nice to have an odd number of people on a committee just so that you can get through votes. Anyway, that's my rationale for the changes that were originally proposed. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to speak on my own behalf, not as president right now. I struggle with this because a request to the manager like this is really telling the manager what to do because we supervise the manager and we have the ability to give him duties, but this is not a duty. This is telling him how to do his job. And I worry that that goes beyond what our jurisdiction is and sets a very bad precedent of micromanaging a high-level professional in how he should be doing his job. So I am not sure whether it's a voting member or a non-voting member, whether I can support this simply for that reason of not wanting to breach our jurisdiction and reach into what his job duty is. Anna.
I am in support of this motion. I think I'm mulling the voting member part or not, but I'm generally in support of this motion. My question is really logistical in nature, which is how it's determined which DPW employee is appointed. So thinking through, is that something that we would be asking I guess I have different ideas bouncing in my head, but I'm curious if Councilor Kenna Martin, if you have a recommendation or if you think we should leave it unspecified in the charge so that the manager could kind of decide the direction there. Just again, really purely a logistical question about which employee. Otherwise, I appreciate the motion. Thank you.
Councilor Kenna Martin.
I wasn't sure if I had to be that specific, but I think I would ask the union for a recommendation of who they think could best do the job. So at least present that recommendation to the town manager for consideration.
Okay, that I think that makes sense. And thinking through, are we then removing from consideration any non-union employees that might be a good fit as well? Yeah, I'm going to keep thinking on it, but I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
Councilor Brevik.
I had sort of a similar comment to Anna, but I guess I think that if we were to have this member be a non-voting member, it really wouldn't make sense to have them be the only, or there's one other non-voting member, but to have others have a vote and not this individual, I think, I just don't see any way that that could play as fair. And I think this just is, I guess that's my only comment on that topic. And then in terms of encouraging the town manager to do this, or just the concept of the motion itself, I think I would be really surprised if the town manager were opposed to something like this, just given all the comments that we heard and wanting to engage employees in the process. And I think I would, imagine this is something that we're all kind of on the same page about, and wanting to hear the voices of workers. So,
Sam.
Thank you, Mandy. I would like to note, I saw the DPW director, Guilford, has his hand up. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but it might be worth hearing what he has to say on this. I do have a comment, which is, it seems odd to add a new member to the committee who has voting capacity, and yet there's somebody on the committee currently who doesn't have voting capacity. Currently, as I read it, everyone has a vote except for Bob Parent, and he's very effective, and maybe we don't want to have the project manager voting, I'm not sure. But the juxtaposition seems a bit odd if we're going to add a new person who does have voting. Why would we have one and not the other, vice versa?
Guilford.
I just wanted to throw in that when we have situations like this, we open it up to all the employees in the building. We have our two associations that are public works associations. We have three, or actually there's 4 non-union employees, and then we have 1 employee from SEIU. So we normally open it up to everyone. We don't just ask the union, we ask the DPW employees, and we ask for people who are interested, and then we sort it out. And it usually works out fine to choose somebody.
Thank you. Pam.
I was going to speak to your comment about adjusting committee charges. We often adjust committee charges as they're being formed to better reflect, what the intent of a committee is. So I don't have a problem asking the town manager to reconsider a committee charge.
Thank you. Kathy.
Yeah, I just wanted to underscore a point that Pam made, and she made it quickly. Guilford talked about the number of people in the actual, what's in the building and what is composed with it. The intention is to speak to all department heads. And that, again, on the school building committee, we certainly didn't make a decision about the size of the music room, about the size of where the bookcases were going to be. These were it was with librarian inputs, as was the furnishing. The school committee made dimension sizes and handed it to the building committee, but there was a lot of back and forth on the playground. It didn't mean we had a playground person on the committee. It just meant we had anybody who needed to be there when we were designing the playground. So I don't think the notion that they're not sitting talking about qualifications of the OPM and what the clerk of the works is going to do and what their experience is going to be, and whether this company has ever built a building. These kind of details is not where it's going to be important to people. What the building has in it in terms of working conditions. And Pam just said the intention is to be talking to everyone as this is being designed. Otherwise, it's a complex building. You're never going to get all the voices you need on the building committee. You have to go out beyond that. So the leadership people have to be specifically doing that. So this is a good idea to add what I think should be a non-voting, just to keep the quorum smaller. We don't want this committee not to meet because of a failure to get to a quorum. We need it to meet often and make decisions.
Pam.
One last thing about the composition, by adding a DPW employee to the team. I mean, it could be that somebody from the mechanical department ends up being the voter or the non-voter. But does that person represent trees and grounds properly? Or does that person represent, the town engineer properly? So I think their role is important. They can feed back to their colleagues what's happening in the building, and they can solicit even additional input if somehow it's not being solicited properly by the committee. Again, I would support a non-voting member because I think it's added input, but it's representative of the entirety. And if you try to make that many, and I'm not saying this well, you could put 100 people on the voting committee, but that doesn't really improve the value of it.
Seeing no other hands. Oh, we have one more, Anna.
Sorry, I wanted to clarify, my understanding was that because this was a town manager created committee, that's what differentiates it from other committee charges that the council regularly edits or will make changes to. Am I misunderstanding that? I believe that that's why, Mandy, is that why your hesitation was coming up versus other committee charges that we edit?
Yes, we cannot directly change this committee charge. Only the manager can.
Okay, so it is different than the amendments that we make to other charges.
We could make
In like then how we edit other charges as was
if we've
referenced.
adopted the original charge, then we can edit that charge to our liking at any time, but the manager is the one that approved this charge, so we cannot directly edit it.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other hands, we will move to a vote. I believe we are starting with the motion we are voting on is the motion to request that the town manager amend the Department of Public Works Building Committee charge and composition with the following: change the number of voting members from 7 to 8 and add the words DPW employee voting to the composition of members list. That is the motion that is on the floor, and with no further hands, we move to a vote, and I believe we're up to me, and I am going to vote nay. Councillor Lord.
Aye.
Sam McLeod.
Nay, because one person's not voting.
Pam Rooney.
I'm a no.
Councillor Ryan.
Aye.
Kathy Shane.
No.
Jennifer Taub.
I'm going to defer to council. I'll vote no because our building committee representative.
Councillor Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Brevick.
Yes.
Councillor Counter Martin.
Yes.
Andy Churchill.
Yes.
Anna Devlin Gauthier.
Aye.
Lynn Griesemer.
Aye.
I have a vote of 8 in favor, 5 opposed. The motion passes. We are now moving on to item 8E, which is the Charter Review Committee beyond the charter recommendations. It is not just, I'm going to put the motion on the floor and we'll talk to the motion, but when we are done that motion, if there is time left, I'm planning a half an hour for this. Looking at the time, it's 9:15. We'll go to 9:45 or earlier. If there's time left after the motion, we will continue talking about other recommendations in the Beyond the Charter section to keep moving that portion of the report forward as we have time in meetings. But the goal of the motion and my proposal, as said in the memo, is to keep moving these forward as we have time and as we discuss them, and not wait till we're finished full discussion on everything before we move them through. So I'm going to make a motion to act on the following items presented by the 2024 Charter Review Committee in the Beyond the Charter section of the report as follows: through the town manager to request the town attorney prepare motion and regular town ballot language for amending the charter through the MGL Chapter 43B process for adopting ranked choice voting as set forth in H 4189 and act relative to implementation of elements of the charter for the city known as the town of Amherst, through the town manager to request the town attorney prepare motion and regular town ballot language for amending the charter through the MGL Chapter 43B process for adopting ranked choice voting as set forth in H 4190 and act authorizing extending local voting rights for lawful permanent residents residing in the city known as the town of Amherst, to refer the following items to the Town Services and Outreach Committee for substantive discussion and recommendation to the Town Council by August 30th, 2026. Comprehensive review of resident boards and committees and their role in town governance, clarify the application process for boards and committees, and make clear the various ways residents can participate in the town's governance and weigh in on government decisions, to refer the following items to the Finance Committee for substantive discussion and recommendation to the Town Council by August 30th, 2026, a greater level of detail in the budget documents, and to amend the town manager's goals by adding the following action item to the Town Council Community and Strategic Relationships Goal area: improve the ability to find information on the town website. Is there a second?
Ryan, second.
As I stated earlier, we had a number of discussions at the last meeting. This is just trying to summarize those discussions and move them forward. And then I did go through and see some on the survey that was taken that had substantial agreement and added those in. I think that's the amending the goal area for the town manager's goals for improve the ability to find information. But this is just trying to move some of them forward. Is there further discussion, Pam?
Quick point of order. The second bullet looks like it really needs, it has ranked choice voting stated a second time. It's almost like a copy and paste. Is it supposed to be ranked choice voting or local voting rights for non-permanent
Sorry.
residents?
It is, you are correct. It is supposed to be, the second bullet point is through the MGL Chapter 43B process for adopting lawful permanent voting rights for lawful permanent residents. Thank you for catching that. It was a copy and paste, and I only fixed the H number. So Athena, do you see that? In the second bullet point that references adopting ranked choice voting, it should say adopting local voting rights for lawful permanent residents. No, just the ranked choice voting part, nothing, just those three words, ranked choice voting. Yeah, voting rights for, it's not an amendment, it's a correction. Because it was a typo. Okay, do you have any other comments, Pam? No. Councillor Brevik.
Sorry, I had the same comment.
Thanks. Lynn Griesemer.
Am I correct that while I have every respect for one of our public comment speakers, even if we get all of this through, this cannot go on the ballot until the fall of 2027?
That is my understanding from what the town attorney wrote us in KP Law's memo when we were dealing with the proposed charter amendments, that the 43B process only allows ballot questions on the town regular ballot, which would be 2027, not 2026.
That was the way I heard it, and I just wanted to make that public, that so people weren't expecting that this would be on the ballot this fall. Thank you.
Any other further discussion on that? Seeing none, we're going to move to a vote on this item. We start with Councillor Lord.
Aye.
Sam McLeod.
Aye.
Pam Rooney.
Yes.
Councillor Ryan.
Aye.
Kathy Shane.
Yes.
Jennifer Tubb.
Yes.
Councillor Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Brevik.
Yes.
Councillor Ken Martin.
Yes.
Andy Churchill.
Yes.
Anna Devlin Gauthier.
Aye.
And Lynn Griesemer.
Aye.
That is unanimous, 13-0. So we will continue discussion. Let
I
me-
don't think you voted.
Oh, sorry. I have it on my list. Yes, I'm an I too. It's a little more boomy than it normally is. I'm used to having to be really close. Thank you for telling me to push it back. So we have a little bit more time to discuss the other items on this, so let me pull up my memo on this. So this leaves a couple of items left. I'm gonna just do this ignoring the refer to GOL items in the memo right now, because I think our GOL chair would say, please don't send anything more to us right now. So we will start with, there's a refer to finance item as a possibility. So we're going to discuss that item now. On thoughts on, this is the one that is summarized as allowing the council to increase line items without increasing the total budget. It is listed as it would need to be a charter amendment. I wouldn't say consensus, but a lot of people said this might be something worth sending to finance for discussion on, and a recommendation on whether to propose a charter amendment. And so thoughts on that item and potentially what to do with it, or what counselors would, their thoughts on a referral or any other action. Counselor Ken Martin.
Yeah, I was just wondering if somebody could speak to the reasoning behind why we thought we might refer it to finance as opposed to just sending it for language.
So I'm not sure there was any language proposed, number one, but again, this was in the Beyond the Charter. I'm going to end up putting Andy Churchill on the spot as to what this one was, but I think this one was in the section that was proposing public forums to discuss to begin with possibilities. So this hasn't been something that was recommended to actually change the charter. It was just possible discussion. Andy, as a member of the Charter Review Committee, do you have any other information you could provide us regarding the reasons this was in the Beyond the Charter section?
If you can give me a minute, I just want to pull up that section of the report.
Sure. And I will say the reason it is temporarily slotted under refer to finance is because when I did the poll about where people might want to send it, that was the most popular. So that's why it's slotted there for now.
What number was that in the proposals? Do you know?
There weren't numbers on these
Okay.
because they're not the proposals, they're the Beyond the Charter section. It was like the fifth one in Beyond the Charter or something.
We did get some information from the Collins Center, which is in one of the appended memos. I'm trying to get to that because when we were working on the charter, we were told that state law allows town council to reduce items in the manager's budget, but not increase them. And then apparently Boston and one other town have put forward language which they believe allows them to do that, but basically they don't have the same form of government that we do. So there may be a legal question that should be, whether it should be referred to legal or whether it should be referred to finance would be a question. So I'm just trying to find that memo.
Is there other discussion? So, okay, Lynn.
I would strongly urge that we get a legal opinion before we spend any more time in committee on this. I seem to think that there's something legally at a state level that doesn't allow this because of our form of government. I don't know that.
Kathy.
I just want to echo what Lynn just said. Getting some more advice on this, because when I first opened our charter and saw that clause, I started jumping into a whole bunch of other charters. They all had the same clause. And I said, oh, there's something going on here where town meeting didn't have quite the same experience, but everybody who moved to a charter has this. You can decrease, but you can't add and you can't switch. And I thought that's a very, you're in a box when you get to that point, with the exception of schools, and schools has its own piece in it. So I just think we should get an opinion of why there are these two exceptions. Is there something specific about them that allowed that?
So I can answer one of those. There is a state law that says for school committees, it is chapter 44, section 32, that allows city councils to, if requested by a regional, on the recommendation of the school committee or the recommendation of a regional school district committee, by a 2/3 vote, to increase the total amount appropriated for support of the schools or for the regional school district over that requested by the mayor, or in our case, a manager, provided that no such increase shall be voted if it would render the total annual budget in excess of the property tax limitations. So our tax levy limit is the restriction there, and it is, for those that are new to the council, chapter 44, section 32, and our charter basically copies that. My question on this one is this is this referring to, say, increasing, I'm going to use a crazy example. If we're presented with the manager's budget, is this trying to say, oh, we want to increase the town council line by $100,000, and then we'll decrease the town manager's line by 100, like getting into that level of line item? Is that what the Charter Review Committee was aiming for in bringing this up to a potential discussion by the council or the town? Andy?
This is an issue that we heard from a number of members of the public, that they would like to see this. I think the Charter Review Committee was divided on whether there was something that we wanted to propose, but it was included in the report because that was something that we had heard, and I think the Councilor Breivik found helped find the memo, which is the fourth memo, the final pages of the report, which basically ends with, in the event that the committee recommends a charter amendment granting town council the authority to add new budget items to the proposed budget, the project team suggests the town consult its town attorney regarding the method of amendment. Boston was not required to file a special act, but is specifically exempt from GL, blah, blah, blah. The town of Amherst may need to adopt such a change by other means, including by special act. But they also note that Winthrop is the only other town council community with charter language that appears to give the council authority the authority to increase amounts in the budget, but the council president is the executive authority for the town rather than the town manager in that town. So it doesn't use the same traditional council manager form of government enacted by Amherst. And then Boston has a process that they're sort of jumping through a bunch of different hoops so that they can sort of claim that they're strongly requesting that the town manager increase. I'd have to, but there are specific ways that they have chosen to go about this. So I do think that the suggestion by the Collins Center at the end is to say, run this by legal before you go much further with it, to see if it actually will apply to our form of government.
Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, hearing the discussion, I just heard, Mandy, you were mentioning school committee votes. Andy was referencing a lot of different things. I think it would be beneficial to hear a legal opinion on this.
Thank you. Councilor Kenna Martin?
Yes, I agree with the legal opinion, and maybe ultimately referring it to finance after we get the opinion. And another thing that I think we should take into consideration with this potential change is that I think it would really open up our ability to do participatory budgeting, which is something that we've often, as a town, identified as something that would be good for our town and something that we would want to engage the public in. So I think that having something like that in our charter would help us pave the way for potentially doing more participatory budgeting in the future. So I hope that it's something that we can look into and eventually do.
Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts on this one? We've got a little bit more time. The next one on the list, I'm going down, as I said, I'm skipping the ones that listed as refer to GOL for now, is direct the town manager to further study or implement regionalization opportunities. I wanted to point out that our charter actually has that in there as one of the manager's duties. I couldn't tell you what letter without pulling out my charter. It's like M or something. I was just reading it the other day. As I was going through it. So I don't know, personally, I don't know if there's more to do beyond that since the charter already directs him to do that, but I'd love to hear thoughts from other individuals, other counselors on should we do anything? We can move this down to a potentially take no action item instead of a direct the town manager because it's sort of already included that, but I'd like to hear from others. Kathy.
My impression is we've asked that over the whole time I've been here, any opportunities, and Paul has brought some, so I don't think we need to add another action. You know, the one that's in front of us down the road probably is well beyond the town manager to the extent the smaller elementary schools that are in a ring around our regional school ever thought we all want to band together. That's a different kind of regionalization and would require an ad hoc committee. It's not a town manager task, but investigating water supply, fire department, DPW, do we all need to have a ladder truck? It certainly is worth exploring. And over time, I know we had some regionalization and then we moved away from it. So I don't think it's a new task. It should just be there as where possible. If it makes sense, we should be doing it. New England towns were set up by the king a long time ago, our little towns, 7 by 7 square miles was another land grant. They have odd borders. You know, they didn't think in terms of how close we are to each other in density. So over time, I think it needs to be thought. We don't have county governments doing anything. A lot of states do. This is a huge issue. But isn't just simply, hey, Paul, go think about it. So I think the charter did it right. If there are opportunities, we should all know about it and we should jump in. And I wouldn't go any further.
Councilor Ryan.
So just for the sake of the record, it is section 3(2)R that instructs the manager to explore opportunities for intergovernmental cooperation.
Thank you.
Exact language of the chart.
Yeah, R. Thank you. MR, it's only a few off. Andy.
Yeah, this one comes at the end of sort of tail end of a number of items that were more focused on outreach and transparency, and it was sort of, what do we do with this? Well, we can list it at the end of these things. I think I don't get the sense that given the language that's in the charter, I don't get the sense that we need to formalize this any further.
Lynn.
Do you need a formal motion?
I'll come back next meeting
Right.
with everything that we discussed tonight.
Thank you.
That's my plan. As we discuss it, the next meeting gets the motions. In the big, kind of like the big chunk that I did last time. We'll just keep producing those until we're through everything. Okay, seeing no other hands there, I'm going to go to the other one that I had under take no action at this time, because that's where I just put the regionalization ones as I'm calling these, and that was education and information for the public on what it takes to run the town, like the recent Civic Academy. And I note that there is a current town manager goal of continue Civic Academy and broaden outreach efforts in recruiting the next class in order to reach those not already engaged with local government. Given that goal, unless there's a modification of it, it seemed like that goal sort of met the education information on the public on what it takes to run the town item in the Beyond the Charter. But again, counselors, if you've got other thoughts, which is why it's under take no action, but if there are other thoughts to this, I'd love to hear them on what we could or do beyond taking no action if people don't like that one. Andy?
I think that sort of falls under a similar category to what was sent to TSO. Thank you. And the O in TSO is outreach, and so I think that this might be another part of our portfolio that we think about.
Any other thoughts on that? So that's 3 more. We've got 3, 4, 9 left, many of which are the bigger ones. Anna, I was thinking of moving on to reports and all, but Anna.
Just really quick, because I know you've been very kind to those of us on GOL for the in this discussion in terms of how much has gotten referred. 3, if I might just touch on those really briefly. 3 of the items under the refer to GOL from beyond the charter are rule change amendments. And the way that we handle rule change amendments, at least since I've been chair, is that if counselors would like to see a rule changed, they come forward with the proposed writing. Similar to how they do in council, you bring it in its proposed final form. I would like to get a temperature check and see how counselors would feel if I say, hey, look, these are beyond the charter recommendations. If you as a counselor would like to see them put forward, please propose it as a rule change and GOL will consider it along with the rule changes like we normally do. What I worry about is GOL getting in the practice of writing rules from scratch based on a vague idea. And so I think that any counselor can take, it is your prerogative to take those 3, no, it's just 2, sorry. The district meetings and the practice of public comment and bring those as proposed rule changes with the language as you see fit to GOL. I would encourage folks to do that. I would discourage that as a referral for GOL to write a new rule. That's my thought right now, but I'm open to other people's opinions too.
Counselor Kendall Martin.
I just have a follow-up question for Anna. So if we do want to make those proposals, they would go to GOL first and then the full council?
Yep. So just like every other rule change, it gets referred to GOL, but it's in the key is that it's in its final form or in its proposed form, right? Versus just discuss this. So it goes to GOL. GOL discusses the proposed language, adjusts it if needed, and then it comes back to the council for a vote. It's a slight difference here of just we get actual language versus just the concept.
So I will clarify. So GOL in its charge has to review the rules yearly, and they accept requested rule changes directly instead of for that review purpose, instead of coming to the council for a formal referral. So anything like that, but again, it has to be in the red line version, or if there isn't a rule there right now, you have to slot it in and propose it as a specific number within the rules and all of that. And then you can send it directly to the GOL chair on a CC the president, so we at least know what's going on, so that we can track it for other purposes and watch for that. But yeah, they accept them directly since it is within their charge to review the rules on a yearly basis.
Thank you.
Did I summarize that correctly, Anna?
You did. And what I was trying to say, sorry, was that GOL will send it back to the council. GOL doesn't get to unilaterally decide the change.
Yeah.
As I'm sure everybody already knows, but
In fact, one will be coming at the next meeting because they've voted a recommendation.
Sure did.
Okay, so that takes care of, unless I hear otherwise. Oh, Lynn.
I believe the 2 meetings for districts is part of the charter. I'm trying to find it now, but I think that's in the charter. I don't think that's a rule.
So the charter right now requires 2.
Yeah.
The rules then mention it too. We just sent to I believe the attorney for language to amend the charter, changing that to 3, under the proposal for the Charter Review Committee, that they proposed that for the frequency, notification might be different. The rules could always go more than the charter, even if the charter stays at 2. So a rule change could be made before or until a charter change is made. So I will note on those two too. Given that it's 9:38, we will continue these discussions later and we'll get through them eventually. We're making progress here. And with that, we're going to move on our agenda. We are starting with, where are we? Sorry, I've got the wrong agenda up. We are now to appointments were on consent. And so we are on to committee and liaison reports. We are starting with the town council committees. Is there anything beyond the written reports for the 4 town council committee chairs? Any chair need to say anything beyond the written reports? Kathy?
Finance, I think, as everyone knows, meets tomorrow at 1 with the CPA projects. We will also be looking at the month of May and specifying which day, which department is coming in for budget review. And we'll share that back with the council as those are set up. Sean is setting those up. So I just want to let you know that. And Mandy already announced earlier that finance is charged with holding a budget hearing. And we scripted that in for Monday, May 11th, which is between 2 council meetings. So the finance committee will hear that tomorrow, but I also sent them a note today. So that's the meeting tomorrow to finalize that. The procedure has been that each member of the finance committee takes one section of the budget and crafts questions that they send through Sean. And if any counselor, when they open that budget book, has questions, send it through. Not directly to the department head, but we consolidate them so they can come in and be answering questions rather than just talking to us. So it's more interactive.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan?
So just want to reinforce that, I'm sure you've all read our report, but we had an excellent presentation by Jason Skills, the town engineer, on the road and sidewalk repair plan, and that is in your packet. And I urge you all to put it someplace special, wherever you keep those sorts of things. And also in the packet is the town manager's memo to us from February, I think it's February 19th, that lays out how Jason's Skills plan would be funded, and that's also in the packet. So just FYI, please make sure that you get those and you keep them in a place where you can read them and cherish them. TSO's future agenda items, on April 16th, we'll be meeting again with Angela Mills and with Samantha Giffen on outreach and resident engagement. On May 7th, we'll be taking up what's happening with the streetlights bylaw. And on May 21st, we are hoping to meet with the PVDC consultant on waste hauler.
Thank you. Any questions for the council committee chairs? Seeing none, town committees with councilor members, are there any reports from any of those committees? They're listed as item 10B. Kathy?
I'll just do two quickly. JCPC had its last and final memo meeting, finished a report, and that's a recommendation to the town councilor, but you have it in your packet if you want to read it. One of the notable things, given our discussions on roads, is through a variety of measures during the 7 meetings we did, we almost doubled the amount the town had available in cash for roads, which is good news. And we were able to avoid any debt. So there's a longish executive summary, so you don't have to read the whole report, but it's longer than the normal executive summary. The other thing is the elementary school building committee will be meeting on Friday, April 17th, not this Friday, but the next Friday, with a couple of decisions, including the design of the new Amethyst Brooks School sign, which is a kind of fun thing to be looking at.
Thank you. Any other counselors to report anything? Jennifer?
Just quickly from the Council on Aging, I think a couple meetings ago, I mentioned that they had planned a senior SIP at, I think that's what it was, at Protocol, and it was incredibly well attended. There must have been 50 to 60 people there, which just showed how much seniors want to get out and socialize, be together.
You go to the bar. Yeah, right.
No, but people are having such a good time. It was a great turnout. And they also really, they've said at COA, appreciate the council's appropriation of funds to the bank center. I think they weren't sure that was going to happen, so they're very happy that it is.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Sam?
Not a liaison, just a Transportation Parking Commission. I believe Councilor Ryan said last meeting, we're meeting for the first time on the 15th. That changed to 6 p.m. instead of 5:30.
Thank you. Any further reports from councilors on town committees with council members or liaisons? Jennifer?
I just have one question.
Sure.
Transportation.
Can you speak
staff?
closer to the mic?
Yeah. Are those hybrid or just in person?
The first meeting will be in person. After that, I don't know. But the first meeting is in person.
And what date? I'm just
It is in first floor meeting room. Is that right? Or is in this room?
It's in town hall.
It's in town hall somewhere. It's April 15th. It is now at 6 p.m.
Any questions? Any further questions on committee and liaison reports? Seeing none, we approved the minutes on the consent agenda. Paul, town manager report.
Thank you. So, yeah, so I think the first meeting is usually in person. That's when they elect the chair to decide how they want to meet. And so the committee members get to have that first conversation, how they're going to do a hybrid or not, those kinds of things. On Saturday, April 11th is Global Village at the Amherst High School. It's the DEI department and a lot of town staff have put a ton of time into developing this. Is incredibly popular last year. So it's at the high school from 10 to 5, and there's food trucks and all kinds of things and entertainment and sharing information. So I hope you all are able to swing by there and thank their staff for put it on. Then we have there's a community meeting on Tuesday for Eversource at the Rep Dom and Senator Comerford are sponsoring in this room to talk about the transmission right-of-way reliability program that Eversource has requested. On the day before that, Monday, is Darcy Jameson mentioned there is the information meeting in North Amherst at the Survival Center about the proposed project that Beacon Communities is proposing. And I'm glad you mentioned the roads presentation. We're trying to get the PowerPoint is available, but we're getting the actual presentation, which is about 25-30 minutes that Jason did. We're going to snip that so you can have it and you can share it out with people. And then there's about another 35 or 45 minutes of questions after it. If you want to see what those questions from the counselors were to Jason, you can watch the entire meeting. That's it.
Any questions for the town manager? Seeing none, we will move to town council comments section. The president's report is in the packet. If you have any questions on that, or I'll go through the future agenda items, ask me after I go through those, and then we'll move on to council comments. Next meeting is April 27th. The goal at this point, here's what's on it. Potentially vote on the borrowing authorization. We referred to finance today. That's a potential. We'll see if finance is done with it. If not, we have 60 days from the date it was voted, which is the end of May. Our last May meeting is still within it, so there's a little bit of window. If we don't vote in those 60 days, it is automatically approved by our town. It needs approved by all 4 towns. We tend to vote affirmatively, so the region knows, but we can not act and it would still be approved. The vote to refer the clean energy bylaw and associated zoning bylaw revisions for public hearing, hopefully will be on the 27th of April. We're hoping CRC gets that out of one of its next meetings to get it so that we can send it to hearing. There will be a vote on a council rule of procedure rule change. The CPA votes, if finance finishes with them tomorrow, are planned, or within the next 2 meetings of finance, they are planned for the 27th to be voted on. Water and sewer rates may be here. They may not be. We're still trying to figure out the timing on that. And then there's a presentation on the rental registration pursuant to Charter Section 2.8 that will be up on April 27th. And then if there's time on the agenda, again, more beyond the charter referrals and votes, we'll continue doing that as long as I think there's time on the agendas. Any questions on the president's report or on future agenda items? Councilor Brevik.
When is the Human Rights Commission bylaw coming back to us here?
That is a question for GOL's chair, Anna. It is still sitting in GOL.
Sure is. At GOL's next meeting, we will be joined by both the DEI director, a rep from KP Law, and the chair of the Human Rights Commission. We've been working on it very actively, but we've been as I mentioned in the report, we've been shifting it to a charge versus a bylaw to give a little bit more flexibility and latitude. And I'm happy to go into depth on this, but would encourage folks to watch GOL's next meeting. It'll be the 24th. And we're hoping to get some questions that we have lingering answered at that point from the 3 individuals joining us. And hopefully we'll get it to you, likely not at the next meeting, but probably the meeting after.
Thank you.
Yep, and happy to talk more and give more of a detailed update. It's just a little late, so it might not be as coordinated right now.
Any other questions for the president report or the future agenda items? Seeing none, any other counselor comments? Seeing none, there are no topics not reasonably anticipated, and there is not an executive session. And so I am going to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Shane seconds.
We'll move right to a vote. Councilor Lord.
Aye.
Sam McLeod.
Aye.
Pam Rooney.
Yes.
Councilor Ryan.
Aye.
Kathy Shane.
Yes.
Jennifer Tubb.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Brevik.
Yes.
Councilor Cano Martin.
Yes.
Andy Churchill.
Yes.
Anna Devon Gauthier.
Aye.
Lynn Griesemer.
Aye.
And Mandy Johanicky is an aye. We are adjourned at 9:50 p.m.